Everybody knows we're having a smoke outside.
Metaphorically.
Metaphorically speaking, it's more or less drinking. How's it going, everyone?
I put you on the spot this week to open it up for us. So I
Dude, I
appreciate
feel like I
your-
had a good run there.
You did.
You know?
That's why I didn't interrupt you. I would have if I didn't think you were like nailing it.
I was onto
You were.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had something. So
I
it's
feel
just
like-
like you never go up and interrupt Kanye, right? Because you know he's always spitting hot
That's
fire.
right.
He's the
Yeah.
greatest artist of our time, perhaps even ever.
I mean, excuse me, perhaps. I mean,
Well, I'm sorry. I was
What?
speaking because I don't know.
I don't-
Like, you
Are
know,
you-
I again, we've talked about this. There are periods of time where I'm sure they existed and there was some really awesome stuff going on, but then historically, you know, they wiped all that stuff out. The phantom time period. I heard
That's true.
Norm Macdonald. Somebody sent me a picture of it, and it was a quote from Norm Macdonald on his show, and he goes. He said, when you look back at history, isn't it kind of a coincidence that, like, or isn't it fascinating that it's always the good guy that wins, right? Like, he said that, I was like, that's true. You know, like, how is that the case? Like, how did they spin that? And the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know, I have heard people make some pretty compelling arguments about, like, the wrong side won World War II. And the more I hear these arguments, the more I'm like, like I'm not gonna pick a side here at this point, but you're making a compelling case, which is kind of where I was at one point, as we all often are in any kind of controversy. I was at a point with like the moon landing being fake, because for a while I was like, hold on, you're telling me that something I learned and I have known like my entire life and nobody has ever questioned it is a lie? You know, how dare you, sir? But now I'm like, yeah, well, we've never been to the moon, right? And
it
then,
literally, I mean, you know, do you find it also fascinating? And I don't want to, please continue.
No.
But just as another thought, I want you to touch on while you're discussing specifically the moon landing. I'm sitting here going, like when it first came to me, you know, like happening upon a video. I don't even remember how it happened, but I remember thinking, how did so many people miss this for so long? Like, grown adults make jokes about, oh, kids, like, for example, I was watching the What is a Woman documentary, you know, and have you seen that one with Matt Walsh?
No, I haven't watched it. People keep telling me about it, and I keep ignoring them.
Well, I mean, it's everything that you know, but they put people to the. It's so weird. Like, I feel like there's sometimes this disconnect, right? Like, you watch things on Twitter, or you see Facebook posts, or you see some say social media thing, and you go, that's, come on, half of them are bots, right?
Right.
These people aren't real, and then these people are real, and they're like, just the fact that do you want to know a description of the #1 transition surgery doctor in America? Do you want to know, surprisingly, that they are also
transgender? Yeah.
Yes.
What are the odds? Cosmically,
what are the odds?
That has to be like
1 in a billion.
Yeah.
You know, it's about as many stars. It's about as much chance as we landed on the moon in 1969. But yeah, isn't it fucking crazy though? All right. Oh, so what the heck? Why did I bring that up? Anyway, the point is that I'm watching this moon landing thing, and I'm going, all right. Oh, during the documentary, sorry, he says to this woman, a psychiatrist or a pediatrician who gives, you know, castrating drugs that are given to pedophiles to your children.
Oh.
And yeah, because that's what they call hormone blockers. So so he says, okay, you deal with children, you're a pediatrician. He goes, have you ever run into children who believe in Santa Claus? And she goes, yeah, of course. And he goes, so you run into children all the time who believe that a fat man goes around the globe in a sleigh powered by reindeer and magic, and drops presents to everyone in a 24-hour period.
Right.
And she's like, yeah. And he goes, so, and they believe it. Yeah, of course it's real to them. He goes, but it's not real. She goes, but no, but it is to them. And he goes, so you're telling me that there are all these children who you know and deal with that believe in Santa Claus, which means they have, at best, a tenuous grasp on reality. And when they turn around and say that they believe that a boy says that they believe they're a girl, your immediate reaction is to take them seriously and then put them on drugs.
And what did she say to that?
Oh, she got pissed. First she said, "Oh, you know, you're being insulting and rude and instigating and dismissive and racist, probably. I don't know. All the ists came out." But the point of me saying that, right, is like, that seems so obvious. That just seems so obvious, right? However, you and I are sitting here as, I guess, in the general sense, although we have our community here, outlaws, sort of on the fringe in some of our thinking, and say specifically about the moon landing, there are people who raised other human beings, many of them, they held jobs. They created the Hadron Collider, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
And they watch that footage and they go, "Wow, wasn't that an amazing accomplishment?" They're literally hitting the boom mic. You can't even get good. Dude, you can't even get good cell service in some parts of the United States today, but they got a clear as day phone call from the President of the United States to their helmets, recorded through. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, even with hindsight, because if you're like, you know, that's the same generation. Yeah, it's the same generation where supposedly the Orson Welles, you know, War of the World, you know, before the TV really boomed, the War of the Worlds thing scared everybody, although I heard that that's more of like an urban myth kind of thing. But point being, isn't it incredible that even today, all right, you know, Grandpa, okay, yeah. Dude, today, someone will watch that video and go, "Man, I'm
One
proud
small
to be,"
step,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
What? So anyway, please go back to your stuff, but I want you to like address that is a thing.
Yeah. So, and that goes back to this whole concept of like, I'm having to revisit a lot of things that, you know, and you'll as you go about your day, you'll think, okay, well, I know such and such to be true, right? I know that, you know, I know that, I don't know, that the Titanic sank, right? Like, and that the Titanic sank because it hit an iceberg, right? These are things that we've just grown up knowing and has been perpetuated by movies and stories and newspaper clippings and all sorts of stuff. And, you know, you think back on those sorts of things and you think like, okay, well, the Titanic sank in 1912, I think. And you're like, oh, what a tragedy, you know, oh, oof. Horrible, terrible, right? But there's nobody in the world that you can ask who was like, I was alive at the time, right? Like, we don't have that luxury anymore. There's nobody who was alive, I think, except for like those weird tantric guys who live in the mountains or whatever. And then they look like skeletons and they're like trying to touch their great grandsons or whatever on the head and like tell them they love them or whatever, but they're like a skeleton, a brown skeleton. And but you know, nobody was alive for that. So even like 10, 20, 30 years ago, there were people who were alive maybe, and you could be like, hey, Grandma, what was it like when the Titanic sank? She'd be like, well, I was just a girl, and, you know, we read about it in the paper. And you're like, well, did you know anybody who was on the Titanic who died? Or like, did you know anybody who, like, survived maybe or whatever? And she would be like, well, no, because nobody knew. Nobody cared, right? Like, the only people that were on the Titanic realistically were, like, the wealthy people, right? And they had the power to kind of like shape that help, story. You know? Yeah, and then the help, but they didn't make it off the boat. Are you serious? Like, they didn't let the help get onto the boat, on the lifeboats when they had rich people
unless
who were
it never
to
crashed
on, right?
and they actually took it.
Who knows? Who knows if the Titanic even existed to begin with? Records like from that period are, so if you found records from that period and you looked at them, you would have to go based off of the opinion of somebody who could authenticate that sort of paperwork. Yeah. And who's to say that person hasn't already been paid? Oh,
there's a bias, dude. It's their whole history. Like they studied their whole life. 20 years.
Yeah,
you know,
don't want to admit. They don't want to admit the possibility that something that they focused their entire life on is bullshit. And so the same is true of like the lunar landing, right? If you're like, I want to like I could ask I don't know, like I could ask family members and be like, hey, what was it like when the fucking lander landed on the moon? Was it pretty cool? And they're like, well, we were watching it on a screen that was about yo big, right? And it was real scrambly and shit, and you couldn't. It was just like two little blobs kind of dancing around on the moon or whatever, and they were just like it was crackly, and they were just telling like it was. We had people on Earth, right, telling us what was going on, kind of narrating or whatever. And all we had was essentially something that had worse graphics than the original Atari, right? Like that's what you were looking at. So you look at that stuff and you're like, well, that I'm sure that was probably pretty amazing because they needed that at the time.
Sure.
JFK had said, hey, we're going to put somebody on the moon by the end of this decade. And so people were like, they needed hope and they needed something. And so they said, hey, let's do this.
Crush the Ruskies, you know?
And they also, that too, that was the big part, was to like shut down the morale of, the Russians in this space race, and during the Cold War and all that. But then you've got like, I just, it's just like anything like 9/11. Like look at 9/11. Like anytime these things happen, anytime these things happen. It's like it's so that they can distract us, give us hope, or whatever. They control us with what's on the newspaper or on the TV or whatever, and we hear that all the time. They're like, oh, the TV's controlling you or whatever, or they're controlling your mind or whatever, and you're like, no, I'm smart enough to not be just tricked by this TV, right? And and people, everybody thinks that. They're like, no, it's you guys who watch Fox News, no, it's you guys who watch CNN, you guys are being manipulated and whatever. But they're all being manipulated. Everybody is, except for like, and I would say even I am, because sometimes I hear something and I'm just like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. Something happens and I'm like, well, that's an interesting discovery, or that's a fascinating thing, or whatever, and maybe I'm inspired by a little bit of hope. And that's probably some CIA agent's job, is to like, hey, we're going to work on this project that's going to give people hope that maybe didn't find hope in the fact that we've created a vaccine to cure COVID or whatever. Like we got to give these other people something who are like not interested in that shit. So they're like, well, let's give them something.
So for example, like the other day where they announced that they had captured or killed, I can't remember which, a member of ISIS or Al Qaeda or something. And I just remember thinking, who the fuck even remembers that? But there might be like that one guy, who's just sitting there going, man, it still never worked out from back on 9/11, whatever. And
9/11.
And then they announced that, and he goes, hard to believe they're still working on this shit, but I'm about to salute this flag right now here in my backyard. Like there is maybe that one guy that that demographic, they had to turn around and go, what? Like that kind of, I guess. I don't know. But dude, all right, so man, this is an interesting thing. I thought I was watching the Dollar Vigilante, and Jeff Berwick is his name, and he was, he's discussing a lot of stuff that we talk about, either off camera or on camera.
Right.
And he made an offhanded comment, and he says it all the time, and I thought about it quite a bit, and I'm like, man. So he was, the context being, he was showing all these video clips of, let's say, for example, the head of Pfizer, he breathes and his neck comes out like a bullfrog. For real.
It's his gills.
Like, it's like, I can't even do it. Of course, I'm not a, lizard or whatever, or a frog, but his neck is bulging as he's struggling to breathe through his nose, right? Then they showed a clip of Fauci on television, and at his, because he's got the button, right? He's all buttoned up, and right here, right there was a flap, like he was wearing a mask, or I don't know I don't know, right? What the hell is that? But the point being is, he was starting to say like how once they go through with this genocide, and we're in the apocalypse, and after all this happens, if they accomplish it, there's going to be some period of time potentially where there's only that 500 million from the Georgia Guidestones, and then it really increases your chance of accidentally walking into Bill Gates or Klaus Schwab, right? And so he was theorizing like, I'd be like, hey guys, I don't really mind all the killing, but this whole communist thing's really bumming me out. And then he diverts off it to, he goes, well, I don't even know if they exist. Why should any of us believe anything exists? We're in the deep fake era. And he's like, I'm starting to honestly get to the point where if I've never met you in person, I don't know if you're real.
Yeah.
Like, why should, everything's on the internet. It's the fucking Matrix. It's deep fakes, all that. And when I watched it, I said, boy, I wonder. And then I thought, I've never met Tom in person.
Yeah, I'm not real.
Or am I real? I
mean, you never know. No, Descartes actually made that argument already. He said that whole "I think, therefore I am." It's actually I doubt. The whole quote is I doubt, therefore I think, therefore I am, because he doubted his own existence, and by extension, it ends up becoming like, well, if I'm able to doubt my own existence, that in itself proves my own existence. So
sure.
That's given me a lot of hope, because I've had some existential crises in which I've been like, what is all this or whatever, especially when I'm like, all like knee deep in ketamine or whatever, where I'm like, what is happening, right? I don't know, man. Like I saw a meme one time where it said, or it wasn't even a meme, it was a chat between two people, and somebody had taken a screenshot, which is like we've gotten so lazy about what words we use to describe things.
What we consider entertainment.
I'm like, well, it's a meme. Well, no, it's just a discussion that somebody shared with you. Oh, well, which technically in itself is a meme. Like if you look up the original definition of meme, it's just a piece of information that is passed from one generation to the next, or one in a group or whatever. So, and then it was just hijacked by people who like to make pictures of, I don't know, like a wolf screaming and then having like the angry wolf, I'll kill your children or whatever. I don't know. But the original advice animal shit. But it was, the conversation was something like, it would be really awesome if we could come up with a new conspiracy theory, like one that was really out there, like, hey, maybe we landed on the moon even before 1969, and da-da-da-da-da. And then somebody replied saying, you idiots still believe in the moon, right? And that was like the conspiracy theory. So I'm at a point where I'm like, I wonder even, I watched that movie Moonfall, which is my best advice to you. Terrible movie. But I did finally watch it.
I'm like, does it crush dreams or what is it?
No, it's it's not even gosh, I don't even know what I can say about it without spoiling it, but it's got it's got the first thing that you'll learn about, I guess I can say this without spoiling it, the whole concept of the movie is that the moon falls out of orbit and is on a collision course with Earth, right? It's rotating around, it's getting closer and closer and closer, and at a certain point it's going to crash into Earth. Right. So as they're pitching this movie, I'm thinking, right? I'm thinking about the pitch meeting where they're like, okay, so here's the movie, describes it. The moon falls out of orbit and it hits Earth, or it's on its way to hit Earth, so it's falling out of orbit. The moon's falling out of orbit, and the guy's like, okay, cool, yeah, right, okay, got it. What do you plan on calling this? And he's like, I don't really have any good ideas. Let me just spitball here. The moon falls, the moonfall. Let's just call it Moonfall, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the entire movie. But it turns out that the moon is not what we think it is. Okay. And dun dun dun. Oh my goodness. And if you're like, okay, well, I'm curious now, don't be, because whatever you think that it is, where you're like, wow, there's some mystery to this, like I wonder what the moon is. Whatever you think it is, it's not that.
Can I ask you
this? And
this?
it's worse. It's in fact worse than whatever you thought. Oh no. Was. Yeah.
Can I? Okay. Yeah, here's my worst. Here's where I'm going. My worst. Okay. Let me ask you this. Is it the spirit of Jodie Foster's dad?
Have you seen it?
No.
Well, how did you guess? How did you guess what the moon really was? That the moon is the spirit of Jodie Foster's dad?
Well, there was that movie, of course, Contact, and everybody was clamoring for a second, for like a round 2, and as you know, Tom, people want nothing but the same thing twice. So I figure, hey, they couldn't get it done in Panic Room, they had to make it scarier than just her dad calling.
Has Jodie Foster ever been in a movie that couldn't also be a Lifetime original movie?
Ooh, that's a good question. Could we possibly? Okay, okay. Tom is in control of Lifetime right now.
Mm-hmm.
Tom has the button.
Don't put that on me. Don't put that evil.
Dude,
on
you're
me.
the no. I'm sorry. You're the guy now, which is terrible because now, I mean, imagine the scandal if a man was running the Lifetime channel.
I'm
not
sure.
To,
I'm
not
sure.
To assume
I'll tell you
gender.
what. I bet you it is a man, and I bet you that man is Jewish. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
You know, we should look. Well, I'm almost afraid to look that up and confirm it. But anyway.
Yeah, you'll end up on another list.
Yeah. Here we go. So Tom now runs Lifetime, right? Do you put on? Because I'm thinking of the Jodie Foster movie, right? It is Taxi Driver. First of all, do you consider Taxi Driver a Jodie Foster movie? And if you do, would you then put it on Lifetime?
So, first of all, I want to make my position clear on this. I consider Taxi Driver to be a Jodie Foster movie in the same way I consider Leon the Professional to be a Natalie Portman movie. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you could be like, I'm in the mood for some Jodie Foster, but I've seen every Jodie Foster movie, and I'd be like, well, have you seen Taxi Driver? And then they're like, well, no. And I'm like, all right, well, this is kind of a Jodie Foster movie. But in reality, it's a Robert De Niro, right? When he was like a scrawny little punk, and now he's just a scrawny old punk.
What an old dick.
So I would say the same thing. They'd be like, oh man, I really like Natalie Portman. I'd be like, I want to watch a Natalie Portman movie, but I've seen all the Star Wars movies and Thor.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've seen all of the Natalie Portman movies at that point, except for Leon the Professional, right? So.
Well, let me ask you. Okay, so would you then? Could we consider the movies that she has directed? Also, I'm just asking as kind of like as a favor.
What movies has she directed? Do you know? Do you have it offhand?
Well, yes, and I believe she was in it also.
Well, that seems like a lazy way to get into a movie, or like a cheating way
Dude.
to get into a movie. Is she the star as well, or is she like a?
No, it's even better. Okay, I'm gonna bring you back, Tom. We're gonna go back in time. All right, we're gonna play the old guard here. Remember, we're basically now going to educate the kiddies on a moment in time that they may not remember and may have turned into some, almost like the moon landing. Okay.
Okay.
So, one might recall.
Jodie Foster is. I don't believe in Jodie Foster. I don't believe anyone landed on Jodie Foster in 1969.
A few women did, I think. Anyway, the
Robert De Niro did, I bet.
Oh yeah. Well, so I don't know if this was her directorial debut, but she did a movie called The Beaver. Okay, It's called The Beaver.
It is about her.
It's called The Beaver, right? And a troubled husband and executive adopts a beaver hand puppet as his sole means of communication.
Is this a Mel Gibson movie?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Now, why does 2011 matter? It was the first movie back for Mr. Gibson after
he went on that rant.
Let's just say some personal indiscretions, which again I think have become legend in the way that the moon landing has.
Yeah.
People.
I believe that Mel Gibson said those things because they were funny. Because they were funny, and I respect him for having.
Some of them were really. I wonder how much he was like. I mean, he was heartbroken, and he was really being taken to the cleaners by this woman. So I believe, there's some level of honesty in them, but I also wonder if he was just so outright wasted and angry that when he said some of those things, he's like, "Oh, this is good. Like this is is for me." So you know what I mean? Like how many lines were he just thought this one's for me,
So that in that voicemail, there was some. So as you know, I'm not above dropping N-bombs, but I do it not out of hate. Okay, I do it for the sake of a shock value or a joke or whatever. But I've never used that word out of hate. I've never called somebody that. I've never shouted it over a voicemail or whatever, or referred to black people kind of generally as that word. And I honestly, I think it's a disgusting word to use for that purpose. I think it's funny to use to get people riled up or whatever. But I don't think I think it's disgusting when people still use it as like for hate purposes, right? And when he did that, I remember thinking, wow, like this is before I was a racist, right? No, this was, but when he said it, I was like, wow, how, like, he's a celebrity, right? Like, you're not supposed to,
that was the other thing,
do
right?
as a celebrity is always recorded by somebody. And especially when you've got a vindictive wife that's, trying to take everything from you or whatever,
right.
You got to realize everything is going to be recorded. I remember like there's video of like Kanye West coming out of his house throwing the trash away, and the paparazzis like, "Good morning, Kanye," and he's like, "Fuck you," right? And but I'm like, everything that you do, you can't go outside your house without somebody.
I need to slow you down here real quick. No. I understand the point you're making, but I want to reiterate to the people listening, it was a voicemail. It was literally in 2011. A tape recorder.
It wasn't even. You know what? I forgot that it was a voicemail and not like.
I'm sorry.
Over
I just wanted to.
Yeah.
I have to.
You're right.
Like it was actually. She left a voicemail, and then I think at one point she picked up, and she kept recording. Yes, but
well, it automatically did. That was the thing about answering machines that not a lot.
Oh yeah, you'd have to hit stop.
You have to when you pick up, if the answering machine picked up, you would still be recorded. And if you want to really date yourself, because like more modern answering machines were very similar to voicemails, where like it was digital or whatever, and you could just kind of go through and delete it, But old ones was a tape. It was an actual little tape that you would put in it, and it would record. And you would have to, once you ran out of tape, you'd have to rewind the tape.
The sides and tape over
flip it over. Or, if you were like the kind of guy who's like, I like saving these messages that I get from people, like,
then it's a whole,
then you put it in a shoebox, right? And then somebody has to go through them later after they discover you dead, having asphyxiated yourself while masturbating over a bunch of naked corpses, right? Then they go through all those and they have to decide, well, it happens more often than I'm sure you'd like to think. But so I mean, like, that I totally forgot that it was a voicemail, which is even worse because if you're saying something, that's anybody. Like if you're
imagine
saying
how wasted you have to be to hear like
beep. You listen here, you're gonna go out there dressed in those shorty shorts and you're gonna get raped by a pack of so and so. And it was on a voicemail. Like you'd have to be really mad, and Mel Gibson, right? He was already in trouble at that point, as I recall. I think didn't he get in trouble
was
for
it the pulled over first?
Oh no!
Was that first?
Did he call the cop a Jew or something? Where he was always
he
like
if his boss was Jewish or I don't know something.
Yeah, well he had gone on that tear where he said every war in the world in history has been because of the Jews. The Jews killed Jesus, and and that's why he made the Passion of the Christ. And they were like, well, this seems pretty anti-Semitic, and he was like, I know. It is, right? And so, he's very clearly like.
By the way, just to prove what he did to his own career, however you would describe this.
Well, he's come back, and he's back man on top again,
Oh, dude, absolutely. But I wanted for everybody. So his last big movie before 2002, he was in Signs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Huge movie at the time, yeah.
Yeah. And then he did like a Simpsons Film Festival. Then he did something called The Singing Detective, which I mean, really. And then my point is he did a couple spots on a show called Complete Savages in 2004 to 5. He did like 3 episodes, right? He didn't get another acting role until 2010.
And didn't he had to do it himself, right? Didn't he have to
Yes, I believe. Yeah. Edge of Darkness is the movie, and I think he did it himself. Oh no, well actually it was a different director, so I don't know, maybe he was actually asked to do it. But the point being is it was really not a big thing. And then the next movie after that was The Beaver, and then he had to slowly work his way up, because remember, The Beaver, it's her little first movie, and it was more about her, because don't talk about Mel Gibson. and and then it was Get the Gringo. Okay.
That's a pretty good movie. I like that movie.
Oh, sure, but it's strange name. No one really. Okay.
Yeah.
Machete Kills. All right. He's second tier to Danny Trejo. He's the bad guy. Okay, fine. Expendables 3. There's 77-year-olds in that movie. It's not really about him. He could sneak in and out, and everybody's just going to talk about how no one can still understand Dolph Lundgren. And then, slowly, he's been getting work again. But the point I'm trying to make is that for a while there, it took 5 or 6 years to get work. Mm-hmm. Then it was mostly indie movies.
Yeah. Well, he earned it. So you can't,
right.
You got to be like, you got to respect the hustle, right? Here, I'd like to do something, Jerry, if you'll indulge.
Oh, sure.
If you'll indulge me here. First of all, Abernathy Jones said in the chat he called Winona Ryder an oven dodger, which is really funny on the surface. But that was, I looked up all the times.
Is that true?
Mel Gibson. Yeah. So it's right here. I've got the story.
Shut up.
This is back in 2000. This is a couple years ago. It's actually. Yeah, or no, I guess it happened a long time ago, but she just brought it up like everything else, right?
I remember this time from 45 years ago. Yeah.
It's always the case, right? Oh, he raped me when I was, 20, and they're like 80 now, and you're like, well, who cares at this point, right? He's long dead.
It's not even a legal statute, It's also like, my level of care does kind of waver after about 60 years.
Yeah, but again, and I'm automatically like, I'm inclined to believe that it didn't happen anyways, because I don't know anybody who was there at the time, right? I don't know, but I can't ask.
Dude, I don't even know if they're real.
And be like, hey, Mom, remember when so-and-so got raped by Mel Gibson? And she's like, what? That never happened. Or maybe I'm just not old enough, right? So I'm looking at a Newsweek article. And I would normally not trust Newsweek because I don't normally trust major publications. But the thing that I'm looking for is all the times Mel Gibson was racist. And so, like, I'm going to trust it because I know they're going to go over the top to find out. So,
right.
I'm just going to read this real quick. Mel Gibson is facing backlash once again for alleged anti-Semitic comments. Once again, which is the best part. Comments as actress Winona Ryder has opened up about him calling her an oven dodger. The Stranger Things actress, 50, opened up about the incident in an interview with the Sunday Times this week. Ryder, who identifies as Jewish, not that she is Jewish, but she identifies as. Apparently, it says identifies as, so whatever.
Do you think she identified as that as soon as she was caught shoplifting, or no?
Probably. I would say, she's like, oh, it's my sticky fingers, I'm a Jew, so.
Oh, no. That's worse than what Mel said.
And then she ends up being, like, criticized by people who are actually Jewish. They're like, as a real oven dodger, I take great offense to your sticky fingers comment, Winona.
I actually would take that as a badge of honor that I dodged the ovens. Meanwhile, you're just a bitch who steals stuff. All right.
We, my great-great-grandmother, she never stole anything, and she, in fact, dodged ovens as well. So, Ryder, who identifies as Jewish, recalled her run-in with the Braveheart
Could you imagine, by the way, if he meant that his mother was lazy and didn't cook?
She dodged the kitchen. That would be just kitchen dodger, right?
Just had it was completely lost on history. Just didn't know.
He's like, but which again, I'm starting to question how the Holocaust went down. You hear people who question the Holocaust, they're immediately painted as the bad guy. You're like, but hold on. Like, okay, we can say that these people who say that the Holocaust didn't happen, or even the people who say that maybe it didn't go down the way that they did, or that they have questions. You could be like, all that aside, like, you could say all the shit that you want about them being bad people, but then, like, hear them out and hear what they have to say and just objectively look at the numbers that they're presenting to you and be like, okay, well, maybe you're a piece of shit, but the math checks out. Okay, so you can't deny.
If nothing else, I'm a little skeptical about the 6 on the nose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, on the nose.
Like that's
Jerry on the nose. Is that a?
Hey,
are you okay, Mel? Ryder, who identifies as Jewish, recalls her run-in with the Braveheart star. This is in 2020, and he'd been in about a bajillion movies since then. But whatever. Explaining, we were at a crowded party with one of my good friends, Mel Gibson was smoking a cigar, and we're all talking to him, and this is a twofer because he goes. And we're all talking, and he says to my friend who's gay, oh wait, am I gonna get AIDS? And then something came up about Jews, and he said, you're not an oven dodger, are you? Newsweek reached out to Mel Gibson, who for whatever, and they didn't answer. So here's
they left
the
a voicemail.
Yeah, they left a voicemail. Mel, you called her an oven dodger? And you're running around with your
I
beard.
hope you get raped by a pack of...
You're going to get raped by a bunch of Jews, you anti-Semite. So in 2004, Mel Gibson's film The Passion of the Christ had been criticized for being anti-Semitic, and the Anti-Defamation League released a statement ahead of its release at the time that concluded by saying the Passion could likely falsify history and fuel the animus of those who hate Jews. So that, I guess, just his existence in that case was racist enough.
So it's not even that.
He didn't even say anything.
Facts.
He just did
it's
it.
Not
yeah.
Even, yeah.
And the thing is, like, I feel like the Passion of the Christ was. I've never actually watched it, believe it or not. But everyone that has told me, they're like, well, it's an accurate depiction of the gospel, and literally the Passion of the Christ refers to Christ's death. Yeah. That's what they call the Passion. It's not. It has nothing to do with whatever. Okay. 2006.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tom, I saw it. It's just as you know, I saw it in the movie theaters, and
is it accurate to the fact that the Jews killed Jesus?
Well, I will say, okay, to me, and I can't remember all the way, but like I'd have to watch it again, you know. But there was clear influence. All right, so they didn't exactly like neglect to say that the Romans had nothing to do. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
They gave both influences. Like, oh yeah, here were all these people who were mad at Jesus of a certain and then
that couldn't keep their big noses out of Jesus' business.
and here was their influence over the Rome, who also didn't like him. And then there you go. Like that was. It's not that like. If that's how it went down, a bunch of people from two different sides didn't fucking like him, and then of course you know he got. I mean, Judas and all that, but
a Jew.
Yeah, mostly what happened, like literally, dude. So there's a little bit of back and forth, like behind the scene kind of thing, but essentially, what I think I remember at the time, more people who weren't Jewish, I guess, had a problem with was that it was about this, like Christ suffer, like getting his ass beat for about an hour and a half.
Yeah,
you know, like that was what people were. They're like, do we have? I mean, we get it. Can you, you know, because basically, dude, it was Jim Cavatsville, the guy who played Jesus. I don't know how he didn't win an award for just acting like he was getting his ass beat.
Right.
For so, like, it was vicious. I mean, because I've told you my backstory. I don't want to get on a tangent here, but basically, you know, I didn't have that much faith growing up, and we did go to church, but I mean, it was when they call Episcopal Catholic light. This was about as light as it. I mean,
right.
Okay, if I was just gonna, you know, because I don't want to talk shit. They were like nice people or whatever, but you know, anyway, so. Like, I got more out of watching the movie Gandhi at church than I did at church. Yeah. So, long story short, I watched this, and I was brought to tears, and, like, my heart ached watching this. Now, would that have changed? Would I have had a different emotion if it was, like... someone that one of the Predator videos caught, even though we're supposed to, you know, love them as thy neighbor, you know, forgive the sin or hate the sin, love the sinner, whatever. Like, would I have felt the same? I don't know. It'd be like if someone, it's like if someone was in an MMA fight and you knew the other guy was a child molester. All right, well,
yeah, I'll watch the hell out of this.
I'll fucking watch this, you know, and I will also supply the barbed wire, you know, whatever. So. I just want to say that I don't remember being like, wow, that's not... I didn't walk out of there going, you fucking Jews. Like, I don't remember...
Yeah, nobody actually got upset that was the... So here's my issue, right? A lot of people... Okay. Now, this is years ago. The Catholic Church actually came out, and I forget what council it was, but they came out and they denounced... They essentially forgave Jews for deicide, which is killing God, right?
Right.
They said
not the band.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know. Is that a band?
I think it is, yeah.
It sounds like it would be a name, right?
How do you spell that?
I don't know. I would say it's probably DEICIDE because it's deity and then killing.
Oh, yeah, here we go. The best of deicide. There it is.
See, it's a perfect example of like a heavy metal band. Is it a heavy metal band?
Death metal band formed in Tampa, Florida.
There you go. And of course, it would be down with Protect the Innocent. I bet you she listens to it too, you know, with her.
Dude, with how she dresses.
Yeah, you know she listens to Deicide. But anyways, the Catholic Church said, "Hey, we're no longer like if there's any kind of like ill feelings towards the Jews over Deicide, we're moving on. We're past that. We're not blaming the Jews for killing Jesus, right? It's kind of part of our faith that it had to happen. This was a prophecy that had to unfold.
Sure.
So that was the Catholic
It's
Church's
kind of the same
response.
theory as like right now, right? Like if this is actually the end times, apocalypse and all that stuff, it's like, yeah, this is going to suck, but it has to happen for, Christ to come back and all that. So
yeah, so they wrote it off and they said, hey, no more picking on the Jews, okay? And so people will sit there and they'll say, well, you just don't like the Jews because they killed Jesus. And frankly, that's not the opinion of most people who don't like Jews. Most people don't like Jews because Jews control a disproportionate amount of the world's power and influence and media.
Oh, Tom, I think we're
did it cut out? But yeah, no, it's because they control the banks, they control the stock market, they control Hollywood, they control the politics, they control.
Can I ask you something?
Everything. And so
do you
that's
think it's
why
ironic that there's a good amount of truth to that, while at the same time the people behind most of what's going on with the Great Reset and stuff are Nazis?
I think that's kind of that folds back onto a conversation that we had earlier about how the Holocaust probably didn't happen, or that it didn't happen the way that they said it did. Kind of the same, like how what was his name? That fucking goofball who's always like paying money for Democrats to get into office. What the hell's his name?
Oh, Soros?
Yeah. How they're like, no, he's a Jew. And you're like, well, how come he was a Nazi? Like in the 40s? Like, how come he was running around?
Yeah, he literally
Nazis?
said that as a child he went door to door.
Yeah, killing Jews, right? And or like with his buddies, because he was a younger man or whatever, he was a kid or something. He would run around and steal paintings from the Jews and stuff. But he himself was a Jew, but he would run around with the Nazis doing Nazi stuff. And now you're kind of like there's this blurred line of who's who among, and then we've got our first director of NASA, and this is one thing that I always love to point out, is the first director of NASA was a Nazi from Operation Paperclip.
See, I love asking, because you brought up before, and there was a brief, you said, oh, some people wonder who, like if the right team won, so to speak, on the World War II or whatever. And I'm like, okay, but how do they mean that? Because basically we won, and then we took all the German scientists.
Yeah, we took all the bad guys, right?
Yeah, we took all the bad guys, and they just became NASA and stuff. Like, I don't know why. Like, there's even a John Cusack movie where he pretends to be, of course he does, he's an actor. He is in this movie, and he's an art dealer, and he does like art shows and stuff, and then someone plays Hitler, and he wanted to be an artist, and basically they try to pin Hitler's rise to power on his origin story, I guess.
Hitler's origin story?
Dude, it was a Hitler origin story where there was this struggling Germany, right? And then this art dealer comes in and he's trying to like do an art thing for like more common folk, something, because Germany sucked at the time, whatever, right?
It sure did.
And then
it still
Hitler,
does.
Right. Oh, it's gonna be bad. They're gonna die, dude. It's really oof. I pray for them. No,
right yeah.
No, dude. Like
they don't have any gas. They don't have any.
They don't have any gas. They don't have any food. They don't have any what? Like, I don't even know. And this is so funny to say. Like, I'm not even sure if they gave them permits to go into the woods and cut up wood yet. Which, I mean, really, if you think about what fucking tether we're all on that we think is real, it's incredible. So yeah. Anyway, the long and the short of it is John Cusack plays this art dealer / art promoter guy, and he sees Hitler, and Hitler's like, "Can I show you my drawings?" I don't know, whatever. And he's like, "Yeah, all right." And he's like, "All right, I think you got some promise. Make some more, and maybe I'll give you like a feature or this or that." But then along the movie, things get worse and worse. The Nazi party starts to, whatever. And I think Cusack may be Jewish in the movie, like a Jewish art dealer. No way. And so then somehow Hitler gets involved with that group, and like he finds out or something, and then he turns him down for his art thing, which, oh, if only he could have been an artist, he wouldn't have been.
Yeah, he wouldn't have done that.
That's almost the feeling you get in the movie, where like, oh, if only John Cusack had promoted Hitler, we would have all been better off, or something. And it's actually quite hilarious. But one thing I remember from that movie is that the highway system that we have more or less here in America, he had envisioned for Germany. Yeah. And he also had a lot of eagle imagery and things like that in his art and for Germany. And when Cusack, and I'm sure it's not real, but whatever, he said, what's up with the highway thing? And he goes, oh, well, people think they're really free when you give them that kind of illusion of freedom. If they could just drive all day and there's nothing around them, it makes them think that they're not controlled. So they feel free and they'll never uprise because they could just go for a nice drive and get out on the open road and see the sky. But the truth is they're
still in
a
prison of our design. You know, that's right. Nazis. Here, somebody's going to clip this this quote, and they're going to be like, "Did you hear what Tom said? The Nazis had some really good ideas." And then you just have to speculate which ones I thought were really good ideas. Not the Autobahn or anything. Are you still there?
Me?
Okay. All of a sudden it got really, really quiet, and I'm like, uh-oh.
I'm sorry. I was reading a comment from Don saying German Chancellor says stack some wood a couple weeks ago. So I was like, oh, okay. All right. They did give them permission to stack wood.
So let's do this Melvin Gibsonstein.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. We're still on this list.
Here's the crossover, right? There's a song by Rucka Rucka Ali called Hitler's Suicide Note. And he refers to Melvin Gibsonstein. and that's what I always call Mel Gibson that. In 2006, Gibson was forced to apologize to a Los Angeles police officer who claimed the actor had shouted abuse at him during the arrest, including a claim that the Jews are responsible for all the wars in the world. He later issued an apology asking Jewish people for forgiveness. There is no excuse, nor should there be any tolerance for anyone who thinks or expresses any kind of anti-Semitic remark, he said in a statement per the New York Times. He continued to say, I want to apologize specifically to everyone in the Jewish community for the vitriolic? I don't know how to pronounce
vitriolic.
Yeah. And harmful words that I said to the law enforcement officer the night that I was arrested on a DUI charge. I am a public person, and when I say something either articulated and thought out or blurted out in the moment of insanity, my words carry weight in the public arena. And then the ADL, and let's see if they forgave him, right? Abraham H. Foxman, the director of the ADL, said at the time, we're glad that he owned up to what he said is not only offensive but bigoted, but when he's finished with alcoholic rehabilitation, we will be ready and willing to meet with him and help him get rid of his other addiction, which is prejudice. Speaking out about the incident, Gibson said that the arrest had been recorded illegally. So that was his answer to... I was loaded and angry and arrested. I was recorded illegally by an unscrupulous police officer who was never prosecuted for the crime. And then it made public by him for profit and by members of, well, we'll call it the press. So, not fair. I guess.
Dude, what a troll. Do you think...
He was talking about the Jews, right?
Do you think, how much do you think he actually believes some of this shit, but then some of it he's just like, all right, I'm going to double down on this because this is funny as shit.
I think that's what you've got to do. And we should all learn something from Melvin Gibsonstein, right? We should learn something here that you have to double down when you are, because no matter what, you're always going to get, you're going to get Meld, right? Or you're going to get Gibson. Which one works? Yeah. You're going to get Gibson. That's right. They're always going to be like, well, when he's done, it's not even enough that he apologized and he came out and he was just like, hey, man, we fucked up. I said some horrible things. I really regret it. Blah, 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 blah. It's not enough that he came out publicly and said that. They were like, well, when he's done with his alcohol rehabilitation, we'll be willing to sit down with him and we'll hear him formally apologize again. At no end, we'll make him.
Dude, it's that South Park thing where Randy had to kiss Jesse Jackson's ass literally.
Yeah, exactly. You have to continue. You will never satisfy the mob, and no matter what, even if they are at some point like, okay, we accept your apology, we forgive you. I hate that it had to happen, but we love you, Mel, and I know that you were having a tough time. Thank you for acknowledging this. Situation.
Dude, if the ADL
that 10 years later, Mel Gibson's going to have, he's maybe going to cross the wrong person. They're going to be like, you know what? This reminds me of that time that you called us a bunch of dirty kikes. That's what it's going to come down. They'll never, ever, ever forgive you for anything Tom, that you said.
Could you imagine? Dude, could you imagine if the ADL had a sense of humor and they were like, Tom, we appreciate your apology. We know that you've been having a tough time. We understand that your ex-wife has just been raped by Could you imagine?
Had she not? Oh, dude. Yeah. Oh, I would love to hear what he'd have to say in response to that.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine? Just the ADL, you know? Or like on the, okay, imagine this too, right? So I'm going to assume they couldn't have someone read it. But instead, imagine on ADL letterhead. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like get
whatever
get
it looks
very,
like. I don't know what the symbol
get very
like.
American Psycho about this. You know what I mean? Like get very about the and you know it's gold lettering. Understand what I'm getting
something
at?
Called bone.
Yeah, it's bone.
The lettering braille.
Yeah, dude, and then just you know, the ADL would like to acknowledge Mr. Gibson's apology. We are very grateful for his respectful and thoughtful apology to all of the Jewish people, as well as victims everywhere. We also understand that he too is a victim. He's been struggling as of late. We are one to understand struggle. We we believe that there's his wife has recently been
and they even dropped the N-bomb, so it's like
they say it
full, they have to do an internal review, or what do they call it, internal affairs. Well, that would work.
Could you imagine?
Well, it wouldn't work, only because in 2006 he apologized, but then it wasn't until 2010 that his wife was raped by a pack of.
Oh no!
Yeah, it was so they probably, if they would have waited 4 years to respond to his apology, right. They'd be like, we'd like to acknowledge, and by that time everyone would be like, what apology? What did he do? Because people forget that Mel Gibson's a racist, right? I certainly
do. They?
Well, you know, I didn't forget, but like it's part of my like why I enjoy Mel Gibson. So in 2010,
can I tell you something? Oh, all right, never mind. Go ahead.
Gibson faced backlash when in 2019 audio was released capturing an argument between the actor and his ex-girlfriend. I feel like I heard about this before
2019.
Yeah, that's not right. Maybe it's 2000.
Dude, that is
it's a
not
typo.
At all.
I think it's a typo.
3 years ago.
Yeah,
probably 2009.
I think that's a typo by Newsweek. I'm gonna have to write them a letter and say, hey man, in really fancy letterhead and bone and braille. Yeah, it's even got a watermark. But it says back in 2000, the audio was released about his ex-girlfriend, Oksana Grigorieva. For a racist, he has like a very exotic sounding ex-girlfriend.
That's right.
Based on her name is what. And he launches into a racist, sexist rant against her. At least it wasn't anti-Semitic, so he didn't pick on the Jews. At the very end, he tacks on, and you know what else? I hate the Jews too. He says, at one point on the tape, Gibson is heard saying, and so like they're like at one point on the tape, so it tells you that this tape is like long because I'm looking at this.
It's paragraph. A long tape.
Yeah, it was a long rant. You go out in public and it's a fucking embarrassment to me. You look like a fucking bitch in heat. and if you get raped by a pack of, it will be your fault, right? President of the Los Angeles NAACP, Leon Jenkins, sounds like a black guy, so no surprise there.
I'm going to assume.
Commented on the tirade. You know? Yeah, could you imagine if like Sean White, or what was his name? Is that his name?
Sean King.
No, Sean King. Yeah. Sean White's the
dude. Can you know? Here's we have to throw this out there though. Rachel Dolezal, if she wasn't a part of the NAACP, she was a part of like black rights, black advocacy group. I don't know, however you would, whatever she was, might even been. I don't even know that same group. And so I guess what I'm saying is that she had a reasonably high level of position, if I remember correctly.
I thought she was in politics or something. I thought she was
I don't even know. But the point being, like, she was in a particular group position, and the guy was just like, "Are you even black?" And then she was just like, "I don't even think that's important. What are you talking about?" You know. So I guess what I'm saying is, if there was a guy from the South named Leon Jenkins, and he felt black. Yeah.
I would give him a pass, I think. I don't, frankly, here's the thing. I don't care who's in charge of the NAACP because I don't care about the NAACP. So it could be a Chinaman for all I care. And then 2013, well, it says here 2013.
He kept going. Wow.
And it says, Yeah, oh yeah, and he ended it with something along the lines of like, and by the way, the Jews really did commit all the world wars, or really are responsible for all the world wars. I meant it when I said it, and all those things I said, I didn't mean it when I apologized. He said that all when he knew he was being recorded.
Wow,
Um,
that's incredible.
so in 2000, it says 2013, but then it says in 2015. So this Newsweek article is kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Fox News reported that Gibson gave an interview. Oh no, here we go. 2 years prior to a former Republican speechwriter Peggy Noonan for Reader's Digest, where he downplayed the number of Jews murdered in the Holocaust. Of the Holocaust, Gibson told Noonan, "I mean, when the war was over, they said it was 12 million. Then it was 6. Now it's 4. I mean, it's that kind of numbers game." He's right. I mean, those are facts. These are things that are true that Mel Gibson was saying. So there's no fighting that. In 2019, Gibson shocked social media users when it was announced that he will be playing a major role in Rothschild, an upcoming film chronicling a black sheep's attempt to get back into the good graces of a wealthy Jewish family. That's where it ends. Like, apparently that's racist enough for them.
So being in a movie about the Rothschilds.
Yeah, but...
that does tie in, and I want to make sure everybody hears this, that we here at You Had Me at Bigfoot acknowledge the recent UN missive that was passed around warning, frankly, entities such as YouTube or Facebook and society at large to combat conspiracy theories. They, in fact, mention by name Soros, the Rothschilds, who's the other one? Oh, who's another? Oh, goodness.
Leibowitz?
Who's in it? No. There's the Rothschild, but then who's the other one that's like more philanthropist? They kind of.
I don't know. I don't pay attention to these people. I hate all of them.
Well, yeah, sure, but I'm just saying, like, it's the Rothschilds, it's the so and so. It's always the same, like 3, 4, sort of names always.
Isn't that the name? Isn't that the last name of the Queen, Windsor?
It's possible, but really, when you're just out there eating people, could it be the names of the people you ate? I don't know.
Yeah, you take on their forms.
You are what you eat, right? So, but the point, anyway,
used
is that
to be Smith until she ate a Windsor. And she's like, you know what? I really like this name. I'm not going to.
Dude, her name was Jenkins. Thank you.
Oh, now she's a black. Now she's the leader
as
of
a Queen
NAACP.
historian. Yeah. I want you to know that.
What a terrible. Can you imagine though, Jerry? Like somebody goes into a pawn shop and they're like, "Hey, I have this spoon from the Queen's palace," and then they're like, "Well, I don't know much about spoons from the Queen's. I don't know much about spoons from the Queen's palace, but I do have a buddy who knows a lot about it." And he calls you down, and you have to you're standing there, and it's got your name, and then underneath it says Queen historian, and you have to come in and be like, "Well, I studied the Queen," which I can't imagine takes very long to learn everything about the Queen, right? And to become the Queen's historian. I'm not downplaying your accomplishment, Jerry, but I am questioning
the validity of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I get why you would do such a thing, but I mention I've done this for many, many years on my own without any paper trail to show that I've done it.
Well, it was probably all no, go ahead.
Trust but verify. So anyway, we here at You Had Me at Bigfoot want to reiterate to those who are inevitably listening, specifically the FBI guy in the chat, we are a comedy show.
That also tells all the truth all the time. Everything we say is true.
Yes, there's right. It's a very difficult line we ride where we tell the truth all the time, but also make jokes about the truth all the time, which could be construed as lying.
Sometimes the truth is funny.
Dude, did you know, I've heard this, and I can't believe that it hasn't been more popularized. Did you know, Tom, that truth is stranger than fiction?
I've heard that before.
You have?
Yeah.
Wow, you and I are on the same message boards?
I think it was the name of a movie once, and that's where I heard it. Yeah.
Really? Is that? I know there was a Will Ferrell movie called Stranger Than Fiction. Yep. Yeah.
Correct. That's the one.
Yeah, but he didn't say what was Stranger Than Fiction.
Well, it was implied. It was heavily implied that it was.
Do you know what he actually meant?
No.
Rob Schneider.
Is Stranger Than Fiction?
That's right.
I
Yeah.
find that hard to believe. Can you believe that, like, Rob
Strictly
Schneider,
Rob Schneider.
of all people, you know, like, have you ever seen like the people who are very conservative voices and they like are
Right.
become very outspoken or whatever? Rob Schneider ended up being one of them,
Dude,
right? And you're like,
I don't.
really?
Can I just say, as far as spokespeople go, I mean, listen, I will say that the left side, there's a bunch of the old tar tooths aplenty. I will give you that. On the other hand, if I was to sit here and tell you, okay, look, there's a guy who looks like a cross between a Batman comics / Dick Tracy character villain. That guy, oh man, he got CNN was there for the FBI to bust down his door, and he's on
Roger
Alex
Stone.
Jones.
Yeah.
Roger Stone, right? Then you have Mike Cernovich, who literally got arrested for, well, it was just shy of rape, I believe, and he also wrote blogs about how, like, if I think what
he
was
sucked
the title?
the tranny off.
Yeah, and then what was the title of like one of his blogs? It was like, if basically he was saying if it's at all in question, just do it anyway. Sexually, is what he was saying, and so that's another guy. Then we have the My Pillow guy.
Yeah.
Then do you understand what I'm getting at? Like,
Yeah.
if you start going down the row, you just go, no wonder people had faith in Glenn Beck. Holy shit. Like, this is, are you kidding me? Charlie, remember it was Scott Baio? Scott Baio and Dean Cain. Like, I admit that they had their day in the sun and
Buffy,
they were, you know.
Yeah, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's all because here's the thing. It's not popular to be a conservative in Hollywood. You can't. It's a career ender, right?
Dude, I get it. I'm just saying, like, the one guy you could have had respect for was Clint Eastwood, and he just talked to a chair, and that was it. Like, it was over. They were like, please go back to your Iwo Jima movie or whatever bullshit you're going to do.
And even I don't even know how, because I always heard, like, quotes from him.
Well, it could be like,
I don't think they were,
you know,
they were attributed to him, but I don't think they actually were him. I think it was just people, like, tying it to Clint Eastwood because people would be like, well, you know, he's old, so he's probably that way. He probably hates the blacks, right? Or whatever.
Oh, dude, like when he made the movie El Camino, they're like, oh, I bet he really does hate Japanese people, or I don't know, whatever.
First of all, the movie you're thinking of Gran Torino, not El Camino.
El Camino is the
it's
sequel
the car
to
truck.
Breaking Bad, right? Or the prequel?
No, that's You Better Call Saul.
No. The one that Netflix did with Aaron Paul, it was named after the car.
Oh, I don't know.
Really? Okay.
Here's the thing about, you have to know this about me when it comes to Breaking Bad. I watched the entire series from start to the last season, about like 3 episodes from the end of the last season, and then I stopped.
Wow.
And I never finished it. And because I never finished it, and it wasn't, I mean, like, I don't remember why I didn't finish it. I think one day I just was like, I gotta go shovel or so. I had to do something, and I was like, I'll get around to it eventually, and I just never did. I never got around to it, and people would talk about it. They'd be like, oh man, whatever. What show are we? Breaking Bad. Like, Breaking Bad, it's so good. You know, the ending was so crazy, and I'm like, well, I believe you. I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was amazing. Like, have you not watched it? And I said, well, no, I watched the series up until like the last 3 episodes. Like, if you talk to me about what the show, I'll know what you're talking about. I just never watched the ending. And they're like, why not? Nice. And I just never had a reason. And now I'm at a point where I don't, because if I do watch it, then I can't tell that story anymore. So I'm at a point where I can't watch it.
You have to commit.
Right, because I haven't watched the end. I can't watch the other stuff because then some of the stuff that's for the fans,
it may cross over. Yeah,
it may not make sense to me because I didn't watch the final 3. Abernathy, he just fucked it up for me. He just spoiled it. He said Dumbledore dies.
Oh my goodness, I've never even.
He just spoiled. Did he just spoil it for you too? You know what?
Dude, can I say this, by the way? I've never seen. First of all, I know we're not talking about this. I mean, I know what he was doing. But I've never seen one Harry Potter movie.
Well,
not one.
Missing much, I don't think.
Not one. Well, there are 88 of them, Tom. You would think I would have stumbled on one, like on a sick day.
And then they spun off, and they're doing this prequel trilogy. They're doing the Harry Potter prequel trilogy, right? Like, they stole my idea because I was talking about the Back to the Future prequel trilogy last week. And,
that's right.
A couple weeks ago.
Dude, can you, since you addressed the chat, I think I need an answer here.
Okay.
Well, first and foremost, I want to just lastly say I was correct. While I did appropriate it incorrectly to what is a great movie, by the way, Gran Torino, um, El Camino. That is actually the name of the Aaron Paul Breaking Bad sequel, prequel-ish movie. So I just want to,
I'm glad that worked
I'm
out
only
for you,
half
Jerry.
wrong. Yeah, I just want to throw that out there. Save a little bit of my ego on that. But I need to know what Mosley Wade means when he says Tom and Jerry are characters in a Roman Polanski movie. Because
I think he's making like a child rape joke.
see, that's what I'm thinking, and I'm like,
No,
I don't know where.
You know what? I've never watched. I've only watched. I think I watched a movie called The Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp.
Yes, right.
And that's a Roman Polanski movie.
Yes, it is. It's
but I'm
terrible.
also aware that Roman Polanski has made supposedly good
Well, he
movies.
made Rosemary's Baby.
But, oh, did he? Okay, I have seen
Yeah.
that movie then. I've seen
Yeah.
a couple movies of his.
Yes, and he also made The Ghost Rider, which was with your favorite Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor,
Yeah.
and Pierce Bronson, I believe. I think that was. I didn't know. Here's a funny thing: like for all my movie knowledge and things, at the time where that movie came out, I was just like, "Wow, what a cast!" And then they were like, "The guy who directed Rosemary's Baby," and I go, "Oh wow, that was a good." And I didn't know any of the backstory whatsoever. And then I watched the movie and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty good.
Remember when Whitney, or not Whitney, it might as well be, and it's not Oprah, Whoopi Goldberg, she said when they asked her about Roman Polanski's rape charges, and she was like, well, that wasn't real rape. That wasn't like rape or whatever. That was her response to it, and then she had to issue an apology. Speaking of having to issue apologies from The View, did you see that Rittenhouse is getting an apology and a multi-million-dollar check from The View? Yeah, they have to do a formal apology, and
that's awesome.
Give him some millions, so I'm pretty excited for him. That's the best thing that could have happened.
Hasn't he turned out to be? Didn't he have like a BLM patch or some other kind of weird shit? Like he's lost a little favor, Rittenhouse?
Oh, I don't know.
Am I wrong on that? I feel like there was some association he had where people are like, oh, fuck this guy.
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure there's, you're never going to make everybody happy all the time.
Oh, yeah, here we go. So. Kyle Rittenhouse on the New York Post says that he supports BLM and that the case was about self-defense.
Mm-hmm. Well, good there we go. Him. That's fine. He's an idiot. I mean, he's a kid, right? So, I mean,
he's
of course
18,
of course he supports BLM. That's all he's known, right? But good for him. He killed a bunch of pedophiles.
Well, frankly...
Right? Pedophiles.
But frankly, imagine if, and here's the thing, if you're going to take it at face value as if people don't lie, all right, fine. Maybe he's a little misguided about things, whatever. But we also have to imagine, wait, this is a guy with I don't know how many millions of dollars at this point, and attorneys who will literally guide him to say whatever, imagine again, life is so much about trolling now,
Yeah.
Imagine if his attorneys are like, all right, look, just do me a favor. Say, that the case is about self-defense and that you support BLM. They'll fucking lose their shit. Just say it. Just
they won't know what to do with that.
Yeah. Are you serious? Because he's like, oh yeah, and then the side note will be that your extreme right-wing backers will stop liking you, so then we could get a more clear picture of you as a person, and then win all this money or whatever.
Yeah. No, I get it. That makes
perfect
sense too.
if you think about it.
Yeah, and I would honestly, if I was like, this is why I can never be presented with the possibility of obtaining like a ton of money, because I think I would probably move into I don't know, I would probably do that too. I would probably lie. I would probably lose any and all integrity, right, in order to make that money, or to do what I needed to do to get that money. Which is why now I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, people are throwing money at me, and I'm turning them down because I don't want that lifestyle. I don't want to have to do that. That's not the case. I'm poor, and
Tom
I'm
told
poor.
Me that off air, actually, guys.
Yeah, I'm actually super I lack any kind of integrity.
This office here is his bathroom, actually.
Yeah, this is my garage with all the cool shit on the walls. It's fully furnished. My garage is. But no, I think that's the case with most people, and that's what what do they say? Like the root of the love of money is the root of all evil. It's not necessarily the money is the root of. You can have money and be a good person, but I think once you're facing millions of dollars, the prospect of millions of dollars, and you've got these people who are like, hey man, you are not who you were 2 years ago. You are now a shell of your former self. Now you are going to say what you need to say in order for us to get our big nut of a payment, right? Because we're going to get 50% or whatever. I don't know what numbers they worked out, but they're like, we're going to get our nut. And in order for us to do that, you need to play by the rules. You're not going to go, here, we're going to hire this publicist who's going to prep you before everything. They're going to make sure that if you're on a show, they're going to give you the questions beforehand. And when in doubt, just say that your hero is.
Oh, that was what
Martin
it was with Cernovich. The title was "When in Doubt, Whip It Out."
And suck a tranny's dick and talk about. He said, I wish I remembered what he said. It tasted like a battery or a bad penny or something. I don't remember what he said. But he said it was chemically. He said it tasted like a chemical. He like described sucking a tranny's dick, and that's Cernovich, right? That's why I can never take anything that he shares seriously now, especially on the. He talks. I mean, he fights a good fight for like whatever for people who don't know
there are certain
who he was.
Yeah.
He sucked a.
But I just feel one of those things. I just feel like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you're such a fucking asshole that of course you're on this. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way to properly represent viewpoints because it's like, all right, well, who are the people who rise to the top? The worst, most disgusting, awful fucking people, you know?
Do you think it has something to do with controlled opposition, though? Do you think it has something to do with that? You know, they purposely, they're like, okay, Rob Schneider, you don't have shit going on. Like, when's the last time you did anything? Here, we're going to give you X amount of money to go out.
Hey, Charlie Sheen.
Well, Charlie Sheen is very much, he's very liberal.
Libertarian. I thought he was libertarian.
No. Vince Vaughn and Mel Gibson are libertarians.
Yes.
But what's his face? Charlie Sheen. It doesn't matter what.
Well, I know his dad is like,
he's got AIDS.
Real liberal.
And then they've got Angelina Jolie's dad, John Voight. Yeah, all these people who Tim Allen. I mean, he was already like kind of like on his way out. All these people who are on their way out. Kevin Sorbo. They're like, hey, here's what we want you guys to do. We want you, who are already kind of like cast aside by Hollywood and forgotten about. You're going to be the conservative voices so that people can make this argument later on saying, oh, well, it's just the Buffy the Vampire Slayer, right? Kirsten, what's her fucking name?
Sarah Michelle Gellar?
No, it's the other one. Not the TV show Buffy, the other one. The
hot
one. I don't remember her name.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Anyways, they're going to say, hey, you're going to be the new voice for conservatism because nobody really gives a shit about you. And then they're like, well, that's hurtful. And they're like, does it hurt when I hand you this $500 million check? Does that hurt? You know, well, no, it hurts less now. And I'm glad to be a part of the Trump train or whatever.
The movement.
But name an A-list actor who's come out in support of conservatism. You won't ever see that.
I have one.
Who?
Now, I don't know strictly conservatism, and of course I think it comes under some major scrutiny with his, although I guess it is, in the way that you've described it, Christ-like, to forgive. Chris, Pratt? I always mess them up. Pratt, yeah.
So he came out and said that because he did the speech where he was like, hey, God loves you, you know, whatever, and he got tied to that Hillsong church or whatever, and which apparently he's never been to, but he came out as like, people were like associating him with and like calling him out, and they're like, oh, he's part of this church that's anti-LGBT, which any good church should be anti-LGBT. But
excuse me, Tom. No, I saw the best church on the planet where they had that the
flag in front of it. The
drag queen.
The drag queen
got up on the pulpit.
That's right.
Over the
terrible. Yeah.
That was not.
They should burn that church down, and I would apologize. I would do it and then apologize for it on Judgment Day. I'd be like, I had to. I'm sorry. But he'd be like, well, my crown of thorns was in there, and I'm like, what can I do? You know, they had.
I couldn't run in and save it. What can I say?
Somebody did when that church was burning down. Some firefighter ran in and specifically grabbed supposoly what was the crown of thorns, brought it out of the church. Yeah, it was in Rome.
That's incredible, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, he risked it all to save what they say is the crown of thorns. I don't know if it is or not, or if it's replicant, whatever. Anyways, he came out later.
Which is really
he thought enough to be like, hey man, I got to go get this thing. but then Chris Pratt came out later and he said,
Yeah.
well, I was just kidding, right? Essentially, he came out and he apologized for.
Wait, he was just kidding about us all being God's children and we all are loved by God?
So he's essentially, yeah, he said, well, listen, when
Oh.
I said that, I wasn't speaking about God, Jehovah, Yahweh, the God of the Abrahamic religions. He's like, I was kind of speaking about the universe and love and whatever. He came out and like, which I thought, at first I was like, wow, that's really cool of him to go up and risk it all by saying all this stuff. But then later I found out that he came back and said and corrected the record and said, no, I don't believe in that. I believe that God is whatever you choose for God to be. It could be anything. So now he may. It's tough to say because again, you have these publicists who are like, if you do that, you got to kind of come. He sacrificed his values and his integrity, right? As far as I'm concerned, by going back and saying, no. What I meant was what he should have said is, yeah. I mean, that's what I believe. If you don't believe it, that's fine. But you'd also be wrong. Like that's kind of like the attitude that you should have about your faith. But I don't know. Chris Pratt, he kind of waffled on it, and I lost a lot of respect for him for that reason.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that. I mean, now I have to. I mean, that's
You're gonna have to go back and waffle on your opinion of Chris Pratt. Now, I will say that he's a great actor. I think he's a really cool guy, but I think it's a shame that he waffled on his faith like that. And he'll have to answer for that, I'm sure.
On top of it, he also apparently divorced his wife of 9 years. On top of that,
that was a previous situation. Yeah, it was around the same time that he got in trouble. It was his first wife who he had a kid with, and then
Anna Faris. Yeah.
Really?
According to joekbeckett.substack.com, that is the only one where I typed in. I'm sorry, it's not Newsweek, Tom.
Well, So I know he's married to a Schwarzenegger now. He's married to Arnold's daughter.
Austrian Oak's daughter, yeah. That's the way he describes him here.
Yeah, anyways. But yeah, he waffled on it, and that's a shame. Do we have to do our...
I mean, he did say that Joel Osteen might be the devil himself, so I don't know. But
yeah, but that's anybody that... Anybody
with, like, a pulse.
Any Christian should also think that about Joel Osteen.
Dude, Osteen, I used to... Man, on my old show with Tim, dude, he tried to tell me that Kanye working with Joel Osteen was possibly the best thing for Christianity. He tried to convince me, and I was like, I can't believe this is a thing that you are... I'm like, this is a kid, a guy who needs mental health help because literally he's dyeing his hair blonde. He's going through all the rituals of abuse that you see stars going through. It's basically the Britney shit, and he's losing his fucking mind basically. And Joel Osteen is using him to make shit tons of money, and he's doing the same thing. This is not good. This is awful.
So
it
reminds me of a quote from King of the Hill where there was like...
You mean, I'm sorry, Tom means to say the true King of the Hill.
The original
Jesus.
King of the Hill. He's the King of the Mound, right? They would call it the Mount,
yes.
King of the Mount.
The Mount.
That was the original. King of the Hill is the reboot. Starring Hank Hill, who is like kind of a representation of Christ on the cross. And if we were to like hermetically look at King of the Hill, the series, we could draw parallels to the gospel throughout the entire. Like Cotton.
Can Hill, I just say I had no idea
Cotton
that
Hill is the Father, is God the Father.
Awful. Could you imagine?
I think that's a compliment actually. But go ahead.
Didn't he have like a young Asian whore or something, or he was like sleeping around with a bunch of people, and he hated he abused Hank and all kinds of other... I mean, he was a funny character. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm just saying, as far as the representation of God goes. But I will say, if Hank Hill is a representation of Jesus, I want to say I must be a child of Jesus because we both have the same ass, which is flat and in need.
All right, before we say anything too blasphemous. So, but it reminds me of a quote from that show because he goes, they're listening to rock music, and it's Christian rock, right, at this church, and that's the episode where Bobby wears the shirt that says Satan sucks, and then Hank yells at him or whatever. He's like, you can't wear that on a shirt. And she's like, but he's like, but he does. Satan does suck. And he's like, well,
Right.
that may be true, but you're not going to wear that on a shirt. But they're listening to Christian rock music, and Hank shows up and he makes them turn it off, and it's the youth group leader. And Hank says, it's at the concert at the end of the episode, and they're playing on stage, and Hank he says he doesn't want Bobby to have anything to do with it. And he says, you're not making Christianity cool, you're making rock music worse, is all you're doing. And so that's kind of what that reminds me of.
That's true.
The whole bringing Kanye in. All right, are we going to have to do this welcoming everybody? And then I actually have to pour myself a separate drink. I haven't been drinking this whole episode, unfortunately, because I poured myself this jalapeno pineapple drink, but I forgot to shake it. So the first sip I took...
shaking off screen.
Yeah, I had... That was after I had already poured it.
I thought that was an
I
exercise.
was like, oh, what is this? And I don't know what it was, but it said shake well on the bottle, so I assume I was supposed to...
That's the problem.
Yeah. So I don't know what I drank from it that tasted so awful, but I've shaken it now, and I'll shake it again before I pour myself another glass. After I dump it out here in a minute. But I didn't want to interrupt you and be like, hey, I'm going to run to the sink real quick. You're on your own.
Right. Do you want to do like a couple minutes? We'll just do you want to take 2 minutes?
No.
Pee break and a drink?
Do you have to take a pee break? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just offering,
I don't have to go.
If you have to run and go do something.
I haven't been drinking.
Oh,
no.
yeah.
I was literally just gonna wait for you to be like, well, I've got this story to tell that's really important that you hear it, Tom, and then I was gonna run off screen and dump this water and come back. But all right, let's do the welcomes and then we'll get to the whoobies. We're ahead of schedule. I do want to get out of here by 11 because as we talked about earlier, I'm incredibly tired. Yes. So, hello in the chat, the people who are actually here.
Tom actually said tired of me, by the way, guys. Not
of Mike in Manitoba, as is often the case. Your face has taken the lead. He is now the first person in the chat. Mike in Manitoba he's taken home the silver. Monster Radio came and went. He just came to plug his show. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because he's already gone. So, snooze, you lose. Megabit, and I assume Stephicus is floating around somewheres as well.
Yeah, sure.
Amanda, Abernathy Jones, Critter Me Timbers, Don Trout, J Dubs, and Mosley Wave. I think I got everyone there. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Superfan and the FBI guy in the chat. So welcome, obviously. FBI guy in the chat. NSA, CIA, ATF, DEA. What other alphabet agencies do we have to remember? What are we choosing to? Yeah, Google, the ABC's parent company.
The ABC of the ABCs, literally called the alphabet.
What are we choosing to?
Let's cheers to the alphabet.
To the alphabet. I've used the alphabet for years. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah.
Yuck. That's that pickle juice vodka. I'm trying to finish all the stuff that's been sitting around forever. Terrible. All right, let's do a. I don't know. Do you want to do like a 1 minute break?
I mean, if you want, sure.
Well, I don't know if you have to.
Because I have been drinking water so. I would actually like a refresh. I would like to have my. You know what I've been drinking? I've been drinking those high noons. Have you ever seen these things? Good. Yeah,
they're like White Claws for people who have jobs.
Exactly, dude. So I fell in love with the watermelon one. So I went to a different liquor store this time, and they literally had everything but the watermelon in single pack. So I'm going with passion fruit this time, and I have to say I'm passionate about it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, good. Well, go ahead and go take your leak, and I'll go fix myself a drink.
Let's do it. I think I'm all right. I did get myself a second drink, but
Well, you got another passion fruit. All right.
dude, well, here, you know what? Sometimes you need a little release, Tom. And I don't know. I understand you're a man who goes to the ketamine camps,
Mm-hmm.
so you obviously know a little bit about lacking control over your faculties based on mental stuff. Anyway, I have been grinding my teeth, and my muscles have been so tense over the last few days that I've actually had to unlock my jaw many, many, many times.
Really?
And oh yeah. I have this happen sometimes. I go through it. And are we on here? Am I?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure how much I was about to say. But essentially, yeah, like it's just been not good in that way. You know, basically, to one degree or another, my wife's been like, "Oh yeah, oh excuse me, my wife has been on various occasions, you know, a couple of different occasions, going, you know, you just have not been yourself." And she's probably right. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, you know.
You know, there's a Rufus. There's a Rufus came to us and he called us what? The Happy Warriors?
He did call us the Happy Warriors.
You have an obligation, Jerry, to
be a happy. Dude, I got the whoopies. I'm bringing it real time today. Right. So
I actually had another mysterious person message me. Remember we talked about my friend Brandy or whatever? I had somebody else message me on Telegram of all places because I
really
yeah. Should I read it? Do you want me to read it? Just read it.
Sure, bring it out there. Yeah. We are an open show here. People.
I posted on, I don't know, probably Discord, something like, "Oh, the CIA kills your kids" or whatever. Like I said something, you know, something like that I would normally say anyways, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she replied. I gotta find. Oh, you know what? I don't even have Telegram on my phone. That would be why I couldn't find it. All right, here we go. Alrighty. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, Kay is her name.
Do you mean to show this on screen?
It's not on the screen. People can't see
okay, well, I can see it. So
yeah,
that's
you
why
can
I'm
see
not
it. That's
sure.
fine.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
All right.
I'm not hiding anything from you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So she said hello, and I replied hello back. This person's name is Kay, right? And she, oh, gosh, where's the thing? Did some of it get deleted? Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, she said hello, and I said hello, and she said greetings, which was kind of sounds like hello as well.
Like that is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. She said, stumped into your profile from a common group. Sorry to PM you first, but it took a lot of courage to that. And then she
wait a minute.
She quote tweeted herself and said, or quote telegrammed herself and said, "Hello, Tom," again. Like, she said, "Can I ask?" Because I just ignored her because I'm like, well, this is a weird conversation. This happened back on July 5th, and then she quote replied herself, and then she said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yes." She said, "How do you feel about Joe Biden running away with the Democratic presidential nomination?" So very like glow in the dark off the bat, right? It sounds like a retarded person, but then all of a sudden she's like very articulate in her question. How do you feel about this? You know, I want to hear. Trying to get me to like talk about how
goodness,
you know, do
that's
some
crazy
thing or whatever. So I said, you know, I was pretty honest with it. It makes me pretty furious, but I think he's been a hilarious train wreck that makes it almost worth it. If he hadn't cheated and won the presidency, we wouldn't have seen how absolutely terrible and incompetent his party is. And so then she responds back. Now, I guarantee this is going to be poorly worded, so bear with me. I'm just going to read it as it is. Don't think that I misspoke. "I feel very, very bad. However, I think it is necessary to have the deep state, represented by Biden, having all the problems splashing back to their nose and having the, quote, sky falling on their head, end quote. I do think they deserve to have the hit consequences for what they have created. Trump do not deserve to have it because he did capitalize good for the people. So it had to happen on the deep state heads, and we are seeing it happening day after day. Once done, wow. I do believe we will be very happy, really free, and Trump will be back." And I said, "Yeah," I said, "I agree that going from Trump to Biden opened a lot of eyes, da-da-da-da-da." And then she said, "Yes, definitely. You think so too. I really feel the same way." It sounds like I'm talking to an AI, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm at
Or
this
like
point,
someone who's not from America, you know?
so that's what
Like,
I said. I said, where are you from? Because at this point, I'm curious, like if maybe they're just foreign. I don't know. I'm originally from Utah, and I live in Utah. Could just say Utah, right?
who doesn't say like born and raised in Utah? Like,
Well,
I don't.
apparently she was born in Canada, and my mom is originally from Canada, so Canada
Oh.
is home-like. And so at this point, rather
Okay.
than being like, well, I lived in Canada for a while, I'm just like, I've never been. I hear good things, and I've got friends there. Like, because I don't want to like. Now I've got to lie to this CIA agent that I'm talking to.
Tom, can I listen? I appreciate what you're doing here. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to step in, and I think since no one else in the room can do it, I'm the one charged with being here in this conversation with you. Look, here's the thing. I can't believe I have to say this. It seems like you're actually kind of taken in with the possibility of this being some other person, but I guess what I'm saying is, Tom, how do you not know that she is about 3 seconds away from asking you if you could help her with her TV?
You didn't let me finish. Right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
She asked me. She gave me her email password, and it was password 6969. No. Somebody in the chat. What does it say here? It says Abernathy Jones says my husband black. So she asked at one point. Well, she was like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "Well, Kentucky, but I've lived all over, moved around a lot when I was in the Army." She said, "You are an Army officer. Wow, I really like soldiers." Heart, and then American flag or whatever. And I was like, well, I wasn't an officer when I was in. I was a non-commissioned officer, whatever. And she's like, okay, and that was also in. And I said, I've been all over the place, whatever. And she said, wow, distance, feeling some symptoms. So it goes straight from her saying, like literally, okay, so to give you guys an idea of what I said, I was all around the country in Iraq twice. She replies, wow, distance. Okay, at 8:06 p.m. This is a couple days ago. She says, "Wow, distance."
It would have been better if she said, "Wow, length."
Length. Well, yeah. No, she didn't do that. So unfortunately, we can't go with that. She said, let's see how many minutes later. 7 minutes later, exactly. She goes, "Wow, distance." 7 minutes later, she says, "Feeling some symptoms of nausea. I think I will see my doctor tomorrow. What do you think?" What do you think can be a remedy to nausea? And I just replied, and I'm like, I don't know why these people find me or why these people confide in me some of this information, but I just replied back Pepto-Bismol at 8:30 or whatever, and then I think this was yesterday. I don't know, whatever.
You're being such a real person to this. I don't even understand.
I don't know why I do this all the time. I could just like dismiss these people, but I don't.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just sitting here going, how are you not telling her to eat fecal matter?
I don't know. I'm such a patient man. I don't know what I did. 2 times in Iraq at such a great distance will do that to you, right? But she said, she replies to me, or she sends a message to me today at like 5. Well, I'm doing shit, and she sends me a message. It says, I had a checkup today. And I said, what did they say? I could have just left it. I could have just ignored it, right? But
I cannot believe this is happening. I really can't.
So she said, I had a checkup today, and I said, what did they say? And she said, I'm just on... Stupid. So dumb. She's like, we're friends or something. She says, I'm just on medication for now, but I'm okay, Tom. I don't know. And I looked at a picture because I'm like, okay, maybe she's just like an old woman. I don't know. Like, you think...
Sure, yeah.
Maybe she's an old woman. And I look at her, you can see my thing. She just looks like
dude, that is like someone younger than us.
Yeah.
For sure.
So she's got to be slow or something. I don't know.
Or not real.
I don't know. Or it's a CIA agent who has given us who's looking for information. I don't know.
No, dude. Well, think about it this way, right? You imagine if you're right that it's an old woman or whatever, but she puts like pictures of, I don't know, like her young niece or some whatever. You know what I mean? Like that makes total sense to me. Yeah, why would you, if you're just some old person who couldn't fucking type for shit? Yeah, you better. Excuse me. Yeah, you better put on like a real, kind of a nice looking younger person, so people
she wasn't
will actually.
that nice looking though. I mean,
Well, compared
I
to
wonder if
what
I
it's, dude, compared to what it sounds like she is, like she's either in a dirt hole on a iPhone 4, you know.
I wonder if I can do this. Hold on. Here's what I'll do.
Yeah, see, Stepicus has it, right? Old lady
Yeah.
catfisher. See?
Yeah, I've been catfished by an old lady.
On Telegram.
Of all places, right?
By the way,
profile,
did she ever mention what group? Because she said we're in the same groups, but never
it's
said
the
which one.
Discord. We're not even in the same group, right? We both follow the Discord, or not Discord, Disclose TV, right? So, but her profile says, and as if this is not suspicious, Land of the Free, USA, number 45, peace and prosperity is her thing. But here, I'm going to see if I can actually share this picture on... Oh, it's not doing it. I thought it would. Never mind. All right, my bad.
Boo.
Yeah, boo is right. All right.
Are you saying boo or boo?
I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what she's saying.
Mike in Manitoba says it could be that pedo hunter.
Oh, yeah.
From the last
she
show.
kind of looks like it too, right? A little bit.
If you put a mask on her, you know.
Let's take a look again.
Okay.
And let's see if we can.
I mean, I wish that. No. Wouldn't this kind of show right now, Tom, would be. It could. I mean, she's a little light.
I don't know.
But you know, maybe she vacations in the winter, or in the spring.
We may never know. We may never know.
No, we're never.
But I don't know what these people want from me. Anyway,
well, you know what it is.
Go ahead,
Tom. Here's the thing: we're gonna have to ask the assembled crowd to give just a couple of bucks. What we're asking for is for everybody here to give just enough for Tom to subscribe for 1 month to the OnlyFans of the Predator Catcher, so we can confirm whether or not this is the retarded Predator Catcher that that maybe some people think it is, or you know, whether or not this is like maybe an old lady catfisher like Stepicus thinks it is.
Yeah,
you know,
one, truly.
How can we, as a truth-telling show, not find out the truth?
I don't know what she's trying to get from me.
You know?
If she is an old lady catfish.
She's trying to get your distance, Tom.
At least she's, better now. I know that she's not coming over and she's gonna be nauseous and shit. I know that she's like.
Oh, could you imagine? How that is some old person shit to do. Like,
yeah.
Dude, I want to suck your dick, but I'm about to shit myself. Like, just, just like, oh, I want to fuck you so bad, but I've had a bad tummy ache ever since I had Chinese the other day, and I feel like if I slept over, I'd shit in your bed or whatever,
And that's such a K thing. You know what I mean? That's so K.
That's the name of our news. You had me at K. First of all, could be one, and then second of all, that's so K. Because it's like it's dude.
It sounds like you're saying that's okay, right? But it's
right.
okay.
So that's okay. That's okay, right? That's okay, and then also that's so gay. Like so you understand?
Yeah, you could do that too.
Like it's three things. It's that's so okay. That's okay. That's so gay. Like it's
know what? It's not. That's not so gay, as Stepicus has pointed out. Because she says that Kay, with her
wants
nausea,
to knock some boots.
She wants to knock some boots, and I think that's probably true. Based on the
we have
conversation
not figured out whether or not that picture is a former man. We have no idea.
There's really no way of knowing. I will continue to.
It could be an old man, dude. It could be an old man.
Well,
catfish.
Only time will tell. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll have those catfish people come out from the show. And they'll be like, "So what happened?" And I'll be like, "Well."
They'd be like, "Famous podcaster Tom from the middle of the country, dude." By the way,
from great distances.
Dude, I left my YouTube on. It started like auto generating videos and stuff, and one was a documentary on, I don't remember which. It was people in a certain country with close proximity to Germany that live like very much do prepping, and they highlighted this couple, And I guess one guy who had originally been like highlighting the prepper scene or this or that, and it was hilarious to me because they were like, this guy, you know, and his very popular, I think he said YouTube podcast or just a podcast. I'm not sure, or maybe it was a YouTube channel. It was a very popular YouTube channel with 1,000 followers, and I was like, wait a minute. You're telling me that if we put in just a little bit more effort, we could be the subject of a prepper
we would have to
documentary?
Share it. I think we could easily share it with them. Be like, hey, these guys. You'd have to like have a burner account, k@telegram.com or whatever. Be like, hey, I heard these guys, and they're kind of talking about some stuff that I think you'd get a kick out of, right? That's what we got to do. Maybe I'll use K for that.
There you go. Hey, look, Kay, do me a favor. Put the Pepto down. Because I need both your hands. I need both your hands on the keyboards here.
Are you sitting down and not on the toilet with your?
I was gonna say, are you sitting down? ABS? Presumably, yes.
Your IBS. Assume 4K.
Oh, dude! Imagine if you tried to take on almost like a, like a foreigner, bot type persona after that. Are you sitting down? I assume so because of your picture. Are you always in the car? Whatever.
Oh man, she's the worst.
The best. Are you kidding? This is.
I hate her.
I hate her. I hope she's doing well.
Oh, man. How'd your doctor's appointment go? What are you doing now? What's?
Don't ask me, Tom. I'm fine, Tom. Stop bringing it up. I want to get to sexy distance talk, and all you could think of is Pepto.
Yeah, well, that's what I was programmed to do as an AI. Let me revisit this because I'm just on medication for now, but I'm okay, Tom. She said, "Oh, you were an Army officer. Wow, I really like soldiers."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Utah. I'm originally from Utah, and I live in Utah. But that's not even true because she was born in Canada. We come to find out, right? So, now I'm really wondering if this is an AI. You know what I mean? Like, to see how.
Do you think it's like 2 or 3 different, or maybe it's like 2 or 3 different programs or people? Like they just keep. Oh, they're like, oh, he's responding legitimately. Let's just keep trying.
Are you asking me if I think this is 3 different people in a trench coat?
Yes.
Like trying to sneak into a movie? Yes.
Or 3 different AI programs.
3 different AI programs in a trench coat trying to sneak into an R-rated movie. I think that's what's happening. Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
All right, let's do the whoobies. We only got like 17 minutes for this.
That's all right. Here we go. Okay. Here we go, Tom. Oh, goodness. I don't want to blow. Okay. Here. Okay. Woman pours blank on man, holds blank at him until he hands over blank. Do you need that again?
Please.
Woman pours blank on man, holds blank at him, like in a threatening manner.
Sure.
Until he hands over blank. Cops say.
Oh, so it's probably not even true, right?
No. Yeah, it's not even true.
Well, if I know anything about cops,
yeah,
I think I can answer this one.
Okay. I mean, you have that background in working at the jail.
Well, no, because those are not cops.
No, but
those are diet cops
right.
who have never been on.
So you're like halfway there.
But also double the size of regular cops.
Right.
In girth.
It's like people who drink the Diet Coke with the supersize.
So, well, I was going to try to make a joke about child porn in the river, right?
Uh-huh.
On the iPads. But I don't think that works. Because the cops said it,
that's a
right?
good that is a good callback. Can I say that? I know you don't want to do it, but since you've mentioned it, I have to give you props.
I have a hard time because it's the cops are saying it. Now I have to, it's like a double layer, right? Because now it has to be, I don't know if I'm capable of doing that. Can you use it in a sentence? Can you repeat the word? No.
No.
I was doing it like it was a spelling bee. It's not a spelling bee though. Woman pours, my go-tos, right, are horse ejaculate, right?
Yep.
That would normally be where I would go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think I'm going to stick with a horse theme here.
Okay.
Woman, and because I think it's the same woman that snuck over the border with the party girl on her license plate because she had all the porn, remember? But she was dressed
you're
as a
bringing
bird.
me all back. Yes.
Yeah, well, we're revisiting some of our classic, old school Tom and Jerry, as if it was from like a couple weeks ago.
Like a month ago.
Woman pours horse ejaculate on man, holds severed horse penis at him, which is terrifying, until he hands over.
I'm scared.
Custom made pretty girl
license plate.
Yeah, that's where I think you were going with that.
Wow.
Cops, and that's what the cops say, which like
you have to watch out for their stories because they repeat the same shit all the time. Close. Woman pours gasoline on man, holds a torch at him until he hands over sneakers.
Now,
here's the thing, Tom. Here's the thing. I don't know if you can believe this. The shoes weren't even hers.
Well, I would imagine.
No, Tom. She wasn't even asking to get her own shoes back. This is how.
Was she trying to get Lil Nas X sneakers?
No, you know what they were worse than that. They were Stephon Marbury's. Can you believe it? I can't. That's for the NBA crowd right there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get that joke, but I hope.
I'm sure
it's
leave
funny.
It. Dude, Stephon. Okay, so Stephon Marbury was like a really overpaid, but pretty good player that turned around and made his own shoes, and because so many people were killing themselves over Jordans, he just made them. He's like, oh no, mine are going to be like $75 all the time. And they were like, they suck though. They're ugly. And so that's why I. So
here's my question.
Yeah.
What? Well, first of all, I was going to say, how hard is it to make Jordan shoes? Right. I've seen.
I don't know. Ask Michael Jordan. I mean, you would think he wouldn't have that much time, but apparently he makes tons of shoes.
No, who you have to ask is the Vietnamese kids, right, or the Chinese sweatshops, right? If they can do it, I would assume it's pretty easy to do. So what's stopping somebody from making the exact same
their own shoes
at all times? You know what I mean? Because I bet it would be very difficult to take somebody to court and be like, "You copied my shoe," right? Because it's a shoe. This is something that's
one guy.
Well, it's not as if the design of shoes has come a long way. It's not like an airplane, right? Like the first airplane was, very rudimentary. It was, they pedaled on it or whatever. And then like now we've got jet engines, we've got space shuttles. We've come a long way with traveling in the air. Whereas shoes are still shoes. There's not much different about them at all. Like even the fabric shoe goes way back. So to the moccasin. The biggest change has been like a heel or adding a sole to it.
Tom, I don't want to understate. I don't want to understate the influence of the. I don't want to understate the influence of the pump.
Oh, that was also in the 90s, right? So I mean, we've not come very far since then. I remember my babysitter. She had a pair of pumps, and I kept trying to pump them up, and I would have been like 25 maybe.
Oh
yeah, no, I wish. Seeing somebody, I haven't seen somebody with pumps in a long time, but I would sit there and I'd pump on them, and she's like, "Hey, you can't do anymore; they're gonna pop," right? And that was like the big concern that people had. You couldn't be pumping the shoes too much, or they would.
That's right.
Burst. Have you ever seen a fat kid with their sneakers, and their sneakers are like, especially like basketball shoes, and they kind of like the sole ends up being the side of the shoe.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my
What's
gosh.
up with that? Can you imagine buying your kids, if your kids were like super obese, if you bought them like really expensive shoes, and then you see them walking around on the sides of the shoes and they're squeaking or whatever, and people are making fun of them for having whatever bullshit ass Jordans.
Well, that'd be the worst part, right? Because then you'd not only lose faith, like you'd lose a little respect for your kid, but then you'd also lose faith in Jordan. Yeah. Like, oh, not even the pumps could help my kid not be like walking on cake.
They need to have like fat Jordans. Jordans for fat kids, where like the sole goes up around the side. And so
Dude, I gotta
matter.
admit, I understand why like players in sports that don't involve sneakers don't make sneakers, but it would make perfect sense that like say NFL linemen would make sneakers for big fucks. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, hey, I'm 280, and after eating my healthy Subway you know, I go down and I get my whoever is the lineman, you know, whoever.
I don't know enough about football. You could have said Gerald Gibson, and I would have been like, "Oh yeah, Gerald Gibson."
Gerald Gibson, linebacker.
As if I only know two names, and we've already talked about Mel Gibson this week. So like, I just
the worst part is that you said linebacker, which is not a lineman at all.
Yeah,
like they're some of the most athletic guys in the field. So all right,
you can tell how little I know about sports. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I don't know baseball, so whatever.
That's right. I don't know anything about badminton. Okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. Arizona teen fired. Yeah, okay. Arizona teen fired blank from blank at a shopping mall. No injuries. I also want to note that he has tattoos on his face. One is of almost like a stick figure cross. The other is of a heart. And on his arms, I could see Geo, like as in Nat Geo.
Mm-hmm,
and
or
he
like
has
Geo Metro.
Yeah, Geo Metro. And some tattoo that's so dark and like filled in. I have no idea what
Does
it
that
actually
have
is.
anything to do with the subject?
No, I'm just
Okay,
trying to give you a picture of what retard we're dealing with here. That's all.
Well, so when you said Arizona teen, I heard Arizona tea, right?
Which is the
Not
horse
that
ejaculate of drinks.
It is the horse semen equivalent of my favorite of teas. So, or of beverages that only cost 99 cents. Right. Arizona tea fired. And I can't get this image out of my head, especially after you described what this kid looked like. Right.
Which is the point of it, by the way.
I would say
I didn't even tell you he has like Sideshow Bob hair. Didn't even mention it.
So I'm still stuck with this image in my head. Immediately, okay. I'm thinking fired bottle rockets.
Mm-hmm.
Fired. Okay. I don't know what the record is for this, but I'm going to assume it's got to be... Now, I'm assuming the... So I'm going to say this. He fired bottle rockets from his anus at a shopping mall, no injuries, is the thing. But I'm thinking, I'm like, what is the Guinness Book of World Records for how many bottle rockets were simultaneously fired out of a human anus? And so
20.
Now I'm... How many is it?
20.
I feel like it would be more than that.
I don't really know if that's true.
So now I'm thinking about like the how far the anus can expand, and we understand that the diameter of a bottle rocket stick, if we were to look at the width to which a human anus could expand and the diameter of the stick, and we did that math, we could come up with like what the reasonable number is, you know, the average width of the anus and then the average for a bottle rocket. And I would say that we could come up with that number, but then I would also think like the Guinness Book of World Records, you probably wouldn't have like the maximum capacity for that, because who's doing that? So somebody could...
Well, no, Tom, actually, it turns out...
could do two and have the Guinness Book of World Record, right?
I'm glad you brought this up, because I just looked it up while you were talking.
Okay.
And it turns out not the Guinness Book of World Records. Not them. They won't touch this one with a 10-foot asshole.
It's the PBR World Records.
It's no, actually, this is the Gay Pride Book of Accomplishments.
So as not to infringe upon copyright or trademark, right?
Right, yeah. It was the Gay Pride Book of Accomplishments. And so, as you may or may not know, we just went through Pride Month. And
well, yeah. That's why monkeypox is running rampant.
Right. There's the first thing where they're talking about how they drink a whole bunch of each other's piss all weekend and then get monkeypox. But unfortunately, that is overshadowing the new record for bottle rockets in one asshole during an orgy. And I think that's about as close as we're going to get. Turns out it's, okay. So it says,
okay, truth time.
it says 26.
All right.
Okay. But 3 of them were disqualified because they were so covered in shit they wouldn't fire.
Jerry. They were duds.
they were literal duds. Yeah.
You don't have to put the bottle rocket that far in, and there's like
Tom. They were called milk duds. No, milk duds.
Terrible, Jerry. I don't like that joke.
I'm not joking. I'll send you the link. It's right here. Anyway.
Well, okay. So Arizona team fired 27, but I'm only counting 24 of them.
Okay. Yes.
Because if they didn't go off, they didn't go off, and
doesn't count. Yeah.
From his anus at a shopping mall, no injuries. Which I'm glad to hear that there were no injuries. Which I feel like he would be the one to.
Which I was gonna say, it's incredible for his asshole, right?
There's really only one person you would be concerned there'd be some kind of injury. Stephakus said fired a Roman candle from a balcony, which is Roman candle would have been, but you can only do probably 3 Roman candles at best, right? Like I feel like that would be pushing. I'm sure there are some people who can.
That's a tall order, I think.
Yeah, it's a wide order, is what it is. And then Abernathy Jones said fired Randy from the food court. So Arizona teen fired Randy from the food court at shopping mall. No injuries. I like that one.
That's great, actually. Unfortunately, it's much more bland. Arizona teen fired 30 rounds from an AR-15 style rifle at the shopping mall. No injuries. Now, Tom, I did a little research following up after I got out of the Gay Pride Accomplishments record book website.
I'm glad that's in your history now. I hope your wife.
Yeah.
I hope your wife sees it.
Well, I bookmarked it. So it turns out
it's on your home.
he was actually arrested for the violence, but he was then shamed for being a terrible shot.
At least he didn't get smoked by some teenager with a concealed carry permit.
He was shamed for being a terrible shot. He was on top of any jail time. He was remanded to 2 years gun range training because you're a dumb faggot, I think is what the judge said.
Jerry. Language.
I didn't. It
was the judge.
Listen.
That's unbecoming of a judge, I feel like.
Right here. I didn't write that down. It's okay.
Let's talk about Randy from the food court. What do you think Randy got fired for? Probably putting too many rockets in his ass, right? Too many bottle rockets in his ass on duty.
He works at Johnny Rockets, and that was
Johnny Roman, Johnny Candles.
That's right.
All these places people are putting stuff in their ass. Johnny M80s. He's like, I got the shitty one.
I got blood butt.
Have you ever can you imagine the guy who who fires off an M80 from his ass, and it looks like, when he does it, it looks like, the cartoons when they would have those exploding cigars, and it was like Daffy Duck, and his bill would be all fucked up, and it would look like a.
Oh my God! His asshole's on backwards.
But it's his ass. Yeah, but it's his ass cheeks, and they're sprayed out, and he's like, "Oh, what? I can't believe this would happen!" Right?
Dude, duck thieving, asshole thieving. All right.
It's all with all that schmutz on it, or whatever. What do they call that? We're just talking. No. It's impossible to talk about asses and putting things in them without being disgusted a little bit.
It's literally called Asses of Fire. Let's move on to something a little less risque, okay? Missouri high school teacher.
Hold on. Have you ever seen, Jerry, real quick? Have you ever seen they're those they're like the things that you blow into and it goes, but it's like a cone, and then it's got all the streamers at the end of it.
Oh yeah.
Blow, and it sprays out that's what the butt looks like, and when it happens.
Oh my gosh!
And it sprays out. That's how I imagined
monkeypox.
I wanted to make sure that the image in my head is properly relayed to you guys.
Yeah, you want to make sure that everybody knows it. Don't just hold it to yourself.
No, I never.
You know what I mean? Okay, so let's go something a little cleaner. Okay, Tom? A little bit more Back to Earth.
Richard Gere is. Oh, what?
A little more back to Earth. Here, very simple, straightforward. Missouri high school teacher sentenced to 30 years for blank scheme. Blank scheme.
Sentenced
Missouri
to how
high
many
school
years?
teacher sentenced to 30 years for blank scheme.
For
Blank.
horse ejaculate trafficking scheme. No. That's
Very close, actually.
so. 30 years is a long time.
Very long time.
I mean, that's more than Ghislaine Maxwell.
That's true.
Got to jail, right?
Right.
It's even more than Wesley Snipes got, or maybe tied for what Wesley Snipes got. Missouri high school teacher,
I think it's tied, probably.
was sentenced to 30 years for so I'm thinking it's some kind of Ponzi scheme, or maybe like a pyramid scheme of some sort, but it would have to have something to do with Missouri, which I know nothing about.
Right.
And
no one
except
does.
for rampant crime, and they also had like
The Arch.
yeah, they've got that, and they also had either record high COVID case. Remember, they like for a while they were like, "Oh, Missouri, you know, everybody's
Stop having
dying
so much
there."
freedom. You're all dying and stuff or something.
Yeah, but that wasn't true. So I feel like that's all I know about Missouri. But then also, it's got to be about high school. So I'm thinking Midwest. I'm thinking, and I'm thinking high school. And instinctively, anytime a high school teacher is in trouble, it's for sex. It's for having sex with a student. Always. So I want to say Missouri. It's going to be a blank for blank scheme in my head. Is how I'm imagining. Like Cash for Gold is fake, right. And you've got all that. Okay. So Missouri high school teacher sentenced to 30 years for horse semen trafficking scheme. I don't know.
It's funny. You went through all of that, all those paces, and that's exactly what you said to begin with. All right. Missouri high school teacher sentenced to 30 years for sextortion scheme.
Oh, so it was sex.
Yeah, and it was all with kids. He extorted 11 identified child victims,
and guy?
And dozens more have not been identified and they were coerced to send him pornographic images and videos. Now, Tom, I looked into the court records on this one because we want to dive deep on this show. The 30 years, I'm glad you brought that up, because the 30 years is actually representative of something. I don't know if you know this. 30 years is 1 year for every kid he got naughty pics from as a trade for free Friday pizza at school.
So it was a free Friday for
That's what I'm saying.
Free Friday pizza for sex scheme. I knew it. I'm gonna have to write that one down.
If anybody finds this notebook without context, I swear.
Free Friday pizza for sex.
Yeah. The 30 years.
You should have let me know in advance. We could have done that one.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
I wouldn't have been stuck here looking like an asshole.
Tom, here's the thing. One of the kids was asked, "Why'd you do it?" They said, "Well, the pizza's really good."
Have you ever eaten the pizza here?
Have you had...
Yeah, I have. It's fucking awful. It's the worst. And we go back to what you said earlier about kids believing in Santa and not knowing. And like, I will occasionally, when I sub, I'll eat lunch in the cafeteria, and the kids will be like, "Oh, it's It's I forget what day. It doesn't matter. It all tastes the same. It doesn't taste like anything. And
Yeah,
but like they'll
cardboard.
be like, oh, it's such and such day. You got to try this or whatever. It's so good, and everyone will be like, yeah, it's so good, it's so good, it's so good. So all these kids are like, oh, I can't wait for blah 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 for lunch. It's so good,
Right.
it's the best. And then I go and eat it, and it's the worst thing I've ever
Fucking
eaten in my
awful.
life.
Yeah.
And it's like I would literally rather go eat anything at that point because it doesn't taste like anything except bad. Like I've never had something that when I taste it, I'm not like, ew, this tastes gross. I'm like, this is what
just
bad
disappointing.
tastes like. Like,
Yeah.
you've made something. It's not that you made something taste bad. You've made bad taste like something. That's where
Tom,
we're at, right?
Let me tell you something, right? The worst
please.
pizza, in the East Coast, we have pretty good options for pizza. Do you want to know what the worst pizza I ever had was?
New York.
No, it was Friday school pizza. I traded for some photos. Oh, that's so awful. All right.
Sometimes
Here we
I
go, Tom.
forget that these are jokes, and like I'll remember later on in the week, and I'll be like, man, I can't believe like kids were literally giving up pictures of themselves in the bathroom for free pizza. Like I'll forget.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like, and I'm sure, and I read somewhere recently somebody had said, and it was actually a meme that I shared. It was a screenshot of somebody's tweet, but it was said something like, somebody said, oh, you didn't have the internet back when you were a kid, and you were like, no. And you'd say, no, we would ask our aunt about whatever question we had, and she would give us information that was just not true, and we would carry that
wrong.
with us for the next 20 years. And so that's kind of how I know that this is going to play out, is when I'm telling my grandkids about, well, you're not going to believe what used to happen, man. Like, they used to, like, trade nudes for Friday pizza. Like, back in my day, right? They used to trade nudes for Friday pizza, right? And then they'll be like, what's Friday pizza? What's pizza? Because we'll be we'll just be
eating bugs and
radioactive waste and all that shit. All right, Jerry, what else do we got for whoobies?
Yeah. Here, okay. You know what? Okay, let's go real quick on this one. Real quick on this one, because the other two I think are pretty good. Police in New Jersey search for a blank after blank woman reportedly seen screaming for help inside. I'm going to leave that in there to help you. Police in New Jersey searching for blank after blank woman reportedly seen screaming for help inside.
Okay. So you've limited to some degree what I can do here. Police in New Jersey search for blank after blank woman seen screaming for help inside.
That's right.
It's an apparatus of some sort. It's a moving apparatus.
Unless they're really dumb,
Okay, I got it. Easy.
All right, let's do it.
Easy. Police in New Jersey, because first of all, when you said police in New Jersey search for blank, if you would have stopped there, I would have said a better job or a better state. I would have said something like that. But no, it continued going, of course. So I would say, police in New Jersey search for crystal ball after ghost-like woman seen screaming for help inside. That's my guess. Yeah.
Very close, and she was actually represented by a ghost attorney in the case came afterwards. Police in New Jersey search for big rig after bloodied woman reportedly seen screaming for help inside. Now, Tom, they have since found her. Turns out it was a total misunderstanding.
Oh, as it always is.
Yeah, they were on a very bumpy road, and she had a loose period cup.
Jerry.
No, but here, and there's one more thing. It's minor. It's a minor part of the story. But she was also nearly murdered.
That must be why they. I mean, that was just.
Like I don't know whose blood was whose. My point. I don't know whose, because there was a really bumpy road. It's New Jersey.
She was also murdered.
But she was nearly, because she was screaming. Yeah. Right. Because she said that. Could you imagine the cops show up? Oh my God, is she alive? I'm not sure. There's blood all over the place. Oh, the dumb bitch just can't put her cup in right. Stupid.
Yuck.
This is
But also there's this knife.
Yeah, no wonder the guy killed her.
Motive is intact. She can't put in her period cup.
Can you even blame him? All right. Let's go, Tom, because we're already over time. We're over time.
Oh, my word. Yeah.
Here we go.
Trying to eat Chinese food before I go to bed.
Oh, my goodness. That sounds good,
I'm a fat person. Stop.
Dude.
Leave me alone.
Blank captures high-ranking blank leader in Maryland. Okay? So blank, it's an organization. I'll give you that. Blank captures high-ranking blank leader, which is, again, an organization, in Maryland.
So I read this one.
Oh, no.
And I know that the answer is actually, it's very simple.
Yes, it is.
Girl Scouts captures high-ranking Boy Scout leader in Maryland. Some gangland stuff, right?
That is, yeah. In fact, it was. ICE captures high-ranking MS-13 leader in Maryland.
I did read that one now that I think about it.
And so now, well, here, this is incredible. This is justice if I've ever seen it. The I guess commanding officer, you'd say, he was interviewed immediately after they realized what they'd done and how important it was. And they said, "We're sorry for the trouble we caused to him and his family." And then they immediately released him into a safe and quiet neighborhood.
Well, this is the future that liberals want, right?
So Tom, I just want to double underline that they find a high-ranking MS-13 member.
Oh yeah, I forgot the real one.
And they said, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and then they immediately released him into a safe and quiet neighborhood.
Well, as is the policy,
protocol.
If I'm not mistaken.
That's how it goes. Yeah. All right. So last one. All right. Florida woman.
Oh, jeez.
And her ex jailed for doing. I'm not even gonna say blank because I'm giving you a free open for doing something for years. Okay. Florida woman and her ex were jailed for doing something worth being arrested, for years. Okay.
So when I hear Florida woman,
yeah, you're thinking hot bods.
And her ex, right? I'm thinking she's either going to be. I've never seen a hot Florida woman except for, protect the innocent. But again, I don't know if she's hot even. And
that's true. You can't even see her face.
She's built kind of like everybody's cousin, right? Like you look at her and you're like, that's my cousin, right? She's just built like that.
Right.
She's got no body form.
I will tell you that this woman, from her mugshot, looks like she could have been the singer for AFI.
I don't know.
You remember that band?
AFI, that's a man,
no?
Isn't it?
Of course it is. That's what I just said.
Okay, so she looks. Like she looks like a
She's
man.
got a look. She has a great mustache.
She looks like a man. Okay.
She has a great mustache and a prominent nose.
So she's. Oh man.
No, actually, it's Calleo. I don't know what that would be. Callello.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Calleo.
I don't know.
So, Florida woman and her ex jailed for blank.
Yeah, an activity. It's illegal
for doing
for
this
years.
For years.
Years. Okay.
Yeah. So, here's what I think went down.
All right.
Okay.
I'm listening. I'm all ears.
Florida woman and her ex jailed for fingering Arizona teen
in a lineup
who fired Randy from the food court
okay
after being caught with horse semen and a severed dangling horse cock during a horse semen trafficking scam during Free Friday Pizza for Sex all seen captured on a crystal ball, as told by a ghost-like Girl Scout who had recently captured high-ranking Boy Scout leader. Am I correct? How close am I?
Wow. I honestly can't believe how close you were. It's a little less wordy than that, but it's close.
Be more concise than I was.
It's a little more. It's more truncated, right? Florida woman and her ex were jailed for sexually abusing their pet dog for years.
Oh, that's way less funny than.
Well, no. I mean, listen.
I mean, I'm not saying mine was funny, but I'm saying
in the ears of the beholder,
raping dogs is significantly less funny than anything.
Yeah. So Tom, I don't know if you know, it turned out after 8 years, it was their own dog who finally called the cops, as he. Not because he was tired of the sex, but as he was tired of the joke. Come here, Sparky. Come here, Sparky. Come here. Come here, Sparky. Come here.
So there was.
He was tired
involved.
of it. It was every time. He said it was every time. I can't. You come on. Every time. Come on. I can't even stop saying it. Come on.
I said.
Come on, Sparky.
I was close. You might have been teasing me that I was close, but I said horse semen.
No, I wasn't. Listen.
And it was dog semen. And dogs, if nothing else, are just small horses, right?
Yeah, depending on the size of the person.
Or the dog. Or the horse.
Or the horse.
I've seen some pretty small. What if it's like a mini horse, right? Or
pony, there are mini horses, and then there's like Great Danes.
I could say like a small mini horse is just a dog, right?
That's right. I would agree.
Yeah, Abernathy Jones said they were caught finally when they asked the vet for canine Viagra. So let me ask you this, Jerry, because this is important.
Yeah.
What was the gender of the dog?
Oh, let's see here. Oh, you know what? They don't even say.
So that leaves me curious, right? Who was? Yeah. So you said sexually assaulting a dog.
Okay, here's the thing.
I got to know more.
The guy recorded it and put it on a flash drive, so that tells me it was the girl doing stuff.
Oh.
So if we're gonna say she's quote unquote straight, even though she's with a dog, then I'm gonna go with a dude dog. And you know what? I'm looking right here.
Well, didn't you say the dog's name was Sparky? That's normal.
Yeah, but you know what?
Name, right?
Well, listen. These are also the dog was also named by people who fuck their dog. So.
Not necessarily.
All
like
bets are off. We don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. It also turns out the woman was unsatisfied because, in spite of what she thought per their conversation, the dog did not like it rough.
That's a good one.
See, Tom, she had the conversation, and she thought by his response that he would indeed like it rough, but he did not.
Did she just ask? She probably outright asked him, "How do you want it?" And
she said, "Hey, how do you get down, Sparky?" And he said, "Rough."
Yep. That does it. But if he was like delivering, right, it should have been the other way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's funny about this story is you tell that joke, but it was he who was asking her.
You don't know.
She responded rough, right?
Oh.
And you might be like, well, how is that?
Yeah. Well, you don't know. See here, you don't know. She might be pegging him. We don't know.
That's where I was curious.
We have no idea.
Right? There's a lot going on that I need to know more. Not because I'm going to do anything with that information.
You gotta dig out this information like the bone in a yard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you gotta give this dog a bone.
That's it.
So, where has journalistic integrity gone? Where has
I don't know.
Because remember,
we found out more information.
There was a time where journalists would go and they would sniff out the information, right? And they would dig up the info that we were looking for. Whether it was in the backyard, whether it was right there in the living room, whether it was wherever it was, they would dig up a story.
Dude, and they would honestly act like they had a leash on their neck and they were being led
Yeah.
to the facts.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They would really, they had a heightened sense of smell for this sort of story, and they
Mm-hmm.
would go after those leads, and they would hunt, actively hunt those dogs,
Dude,
those stories.
I knew some old reporters, and those guys would be so tired they'd be literally, actually, 100%, not figuratively, literally dragging their ass.
Yeah, I've heard
all over the place to get this story because they were so
I've
exhausted.
heard tales of old journalists who were just dog tired after a day of seeking the truth. And
yeah.
So my question is, where was the journalist who asked these questions? Who's like, hey, okay, this Florida couple. Well, they're not even a couple. It's a woman and a Florida woman and an ex, which leads me to wonder, like, when did he become the ex? Was it like after the dog sex, or was, and then like the stuff was discovered?
Can I remind you, this was over 8 years.
So what kind of dog was it?
See, this is the worst part. Like, they're okay. These are
questions that you should ask as a journalist.
No, I have a picture.
Know.
I do have a picture.
Stop it.
I can't show it. Because I don't know how to.
Yeah, you can. You can just.
Oh no, wait.
You show the screen or whatever. I mean, hide all.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Here, let's see here. Let me.
But these are questions like nobody. If I were a journalist, I would be asking the weird questions that, like, when people read an article, they'd be like, "Why was this included? Why is this pertinent?" But it would be stuff that, like, other people would be like, "Well."
Can you see it? See right here? I think that's a husky.
Goodness. She looks slow too.
Yeah, dude, look right here.
Oh,
see her,
wow.
Her wonderful mustache.
You're right. She does have a mustache.
Yep.
She does look like a Kalela.
A Callao or whatever it is.
But look at that dude too. He looks like look at that dog though. Read the whole. Okay. I gotta know. So we know the dog looks like some kind of husky or Malamute, right?
That looks
Pinellas County. Actually, that's where I was born.
Wow.
On the rest of the van, according to the deputies, the woman later identified as 36-year-old Christina Caleo willingly engaged in sexual activity with the dog on multiple occasions over a span of 8 years. Deputies learned that her ex-boyfriend recorded the sexual activity and placed it on a flash drive. The dog was surrendered to deputies who then got mad laid. Taken to a local pet hospital for routine examination. Had no visible injuries, right? Caleo and Springer were taken into custody and charged with sexual activity involving animals. Both were transported to the county jail. The investigation continues. So maybe at this point we're going to hear the questions that we want the answers to. Oh, okay.
Can I just say the best part about these is there's always this.
These
like
guys
they're pushing so many articles. They're just like, oh, you want online work? I'm like, who is trying to get the person reading this article to do online work for them?
Here's the thing, Jerry. That's called a hustle. Right? These guys are out there. Right. They're on every article, and they're out there and they're recruiting. They're on that hustle, Jerry. You got to respect that.
I mean, I can't deny what you're saying.
Let's not knock the hustle, Jerry.
How the hell
are you out there hustling?
Every day I'm hustling. Are you kidding? So, okay, back to you. Back to
me. All right.
Yeah.
All right. That's it.
Let's wrap up the shindig because I'm hearing some screaming heavy upstairs. I don't know what the hell's going on.
All right, let's wrap it up. I got nothing for our friends in the chat. I appreciate you guys all tuning in.
You're all fantastic. We love you.
Yeah, you guys do nothing but great things. And if you were a dog over 8 years, I would absolutely fuck you. Right?
Over 8 years, I would have an innocent woman fuck you.
I would give it to you rough all day for 8 years. So, no, what I will say is tomorrow we're building the Muse. We're building the birdhouse. And,
nice.
Yeah, so we threw out the trampoline today. I was out there in this humid-ass weather tearing down this trampoline. And my wife and I, we tore up that trampoline. So, anyways, we're building the Muse tomorrow. More on that as it unfolds. Jerry, do you have anything for these people, these fine folks?
Spay and neuter your animals. Wait.
Or your girlfriends, your ex-girlfriends.
Yeah, or your girlfriends, more importantly. Yeah, that's it. Treat each other well, grow more food, keep more food, be prepared, and thanks for being here. You're awesome for indulging us in what we do here.
All right. Me love you long time. We'll see you later.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.